Su Wanwan and I immediately looked at the screen, which clearly showed an RV. I could even see the two vigilant men in the driver and passenger seats through the windows. Don't worry about them, I said decisively. Continue to the location of the next supply crate. Understood, Commander. Brother Wudi, this town is so eerie. Back in the passenger seat, Su Wanwan patted her chest with lingering fear. I really didn't feel anything just now, but I keep feeling like something is deliberately leading us the wrong way. Don't worry. With Xiaoxi and the Apocalypse Matrix, these mental corruptions won't affect us at all. Although I felt the sting of the energy consumption, I felt it was a good deal. If the supply crates here were all gold quality, then even if it cost a bit more energy, it was worth it. As long as there were enough supply crates, I would eventually be able to open a better energy core. The RV soon arrived at the location of the second supply crate, stopping in front of a building that looked like a supermarket. Brother Wudi, I'll go this time too. Su Wanwan stood up immediately. All right, be careful. Xiaoxi and I will be watching you the whole time. I nodded. Xiaoxi, monitor Su Wanwan stayed at all times. If there's any abnormality, activate the Apocalypse Matrix immediately. Understood, Commander. Xiaoxi will protect Ms. Su Wanwan's safety throughout the process. Su Wanwan pushed the door open and walked into the supermarket. This time it went smoothly, and in less than 2 minutes, she ran back to the vehicle, her face full of excitement. Brother Wudi, it's another gold supply crate. A smile appeared on my face as well. Consuming 10% of the stellar core fusion reactor's energy for 2 gold supply crates was a profitable deal, no matter how you looked at it. Just then, Xiaoxi's voice sounded again, her tone carrying a hint of vigilance. Commander, it is detected that 15 new vehicles have entered Chingshi Town, totaling 22 survivors. 2 of these vehicles are approaching the location of the next supply crate. Upon hearing Xiaoxi's report, I immediately looked at the center console screen. A yellow supply crate icon was marked 1,500 meters away, while 2 red icons were slowly approaching the yellow dot from different directions, about 500 meters from the crate. Commander, based on my analysis, they are currently conducting a routine search and are unaware of the supply crate's existence. Shall we depart now? Su Wanwan also looked at me, waiting for my decision. I studied the map and the positions of all survivors on the center console screen before speaking slowly. Xiaoxi, full speed ahead. Be sure to avoid the other survivors. Understood, Commander. Optimal route plotted. I will automatically avoid all survivors. Estimated time of arrival, 1 minute. No sooner had Xiaoxi finished speaking than the RV surged with astonishing power, speeding like an arrow released from a bow through the streets of the fog-shrouded town. At a speed of 300 kilometers per hour, even when faced with suddenly appearing broken walls or abandoned vehicles, Xiaoxi could execute evasive maneuvers within milliseconds, keeping the ride as smooth as if we were on a highway. In just 58 seconds, the RV came to a steady stop in front of the detached house containing the third supply crate. Big Brother Wudi, I'll go in and get the supply crate. Su Wanwan stood up immediately, ready to exit the vehicle. I watched the center console screen as a red dot slowly approached from the northwest, now less than 100 meters away. After a moment of thought, I said in a low voice, "Go ahead. Be quick." "Got it," Su Wanwan replied, pushing the door open and running quickly into the small building. Less than 10 seconds after Su Wanwan went inside, an RV turned the corner. Seeing that someone was already there, the occupants were clearly stunned. They slowed down and stopped 50 meters away, their doors remaining tightly shut, clearly filled with vigilance. Commander, the 2 people in the opposing vehicle are in a state of high alert, but show no clear intent to attack. Xiaoxi's voice chimed in at the right moment. Ignore them, I said calmly, my gaze still scanning the screen. Just as I finished speaking, the roar of an engine came from behind us. A black SUV sped up and pulled up directly behind my RV, blocking our retreat. My eyes turned cold instantly. Through the center console screen, I clearly saw the 2 people inside the SUV. Both were foreigners with deep-set eyes and high-nose bridges, peering around and sizing up the front. Xiaoxi, activate the 30mm chain cannon and blow that SUV behind us to pieces, I said, my tone devoid of any emotion. Understood, Commander. Boom! The cannon fired. An armor-piercing shell whistled from the top of the RV, striking the SUV behind us with precision. A massive fireball erupted instantly, and the entire vehicle was reduced to a pile of twisted scrap metal in the explosion. The two people inside didn't even have time to scream before they were consumed by the sea of fire. Just then, Su Wanwan ran out of the small building. Hearing the explosion, she instinctively looked back. Seeing the burning wreckage, she paused for a moment. Without asking any questions, she walked quickly to the scrap metal, reached out to dismantle the vehicle remains, and then turned back to return to the RV. Xiaoxi, continue scanning for the location of the next supply crate. Seeing Su Wanwan return safely, I immediately gave the order. Understood, Commander. The RV started slowly, bypassed the other RV in front, and drove deeper into the town. Meanwhile, inside the RV that hadn't moved, a man in his 40s looked dazed, his hands trembling slightly. What was that? A cannon shell? Where did it come from? The teenager in the passenger seat was pale with fright, his voice shaking. It seemed to come from that RV, but I've been watching for a long time, and I didn't see any cannon barrel at all. Where did they hide it? Impossible. This is impossible. The man muttered to himself. At this stage, how could anyone possess such a weapon? The teenager swallowed hard and said tremblingly, Uncle, let's run. This place is too dangerous. They killed people without even showing themselves. The man took a deep breath, forcing himself to calm down. He stared fixedly at the direction in which my RV had disappeared and slowly shook his head. No, if he wanted to kill us, he wouldn't have only hit the one behind us. Uncle, you mean? The man said with a complex look in his eyes. We don't have many supplies left. Since they didn't kill us, we should head in the opposite direction. The further we get from this monster, the better. The teenager nodded as if granted a reprieve. Yes, yes. Let's go now. Soon, the white RV turned around and sped away in the opposite direction, fleeing from this place of trouble. On the other side, inside my RV. Big Brother Wu Di, look. Another gold supply crate. Su Wanwan placed the crate she was holding onto the coffee table, a look of excitement on her face. Looking at the 3 gold supply crates lined up on the table, a smile appeared on my face as well. This trip to Chingshi Town had yielded 3 gold supply crates in less than an hour, an unprecedented harvest. However, the smile lasted only a moment before my brows furrowed slightly. Something's not right, I said in a low voice. Huh? What is it, Big Brother Wu Di? The smile on Su Wanwan's face vanished instantly, and she looked at me nervously. What's wrong? How could they all be gold supply crates? I looked at the 3 boxes, my eyes filled with doubt. Hearing my words, Su Wanwan quickly picked up one of the crates and handed it to me. But Big Brother Wu Di, the system clearly shows it's a gold supply crate. Look. I looked down at the system interface, which clearly labeled it as gold supply crate, with no abnormalities. I took the box and turned it over, examining it for a long time, but couldn't find any issues. Xiaoxi, check if we are currently suffering from any mental corruption, I commanded into the air. Understood, Commander. Scanning. Scan complete. All personnel currently in the RV are in a normal mental state. No mental corruption detected. Hearing Xiaoxi's reply, I simply shook my head. Since I couldn't find the source of the problem, I decided not to dwell on it for now. The supply crates were real, and the harvest was real. Xiaoxi, keep looking for the next supply crate. Understood, Commander. Xiaoxi controlled the RV to drive slowly through the town while scanning. 10 minutes later, the RV had circled the entire town of Chingshi. Commander, no other supply crate signals detected in Chingshi Town. They're gone. Su Wanwan opened her eyes wide in surprise. In such a big town, there are only 3 supply crates. I looked at the complete map of Chingshi Town on the center console screen, lost in thought. The town wasn't large, so 3 crates made sense. I calculated that Xiaoxi had detected 16 teams in total, including us. If we didn't have Xiaoxi and the 1,000-meter radar, finding even 1 crate in this fog-shrouded town would have been difficult, let alone 3. More importantly, our success in obtaining the crates was entirely due to the Apocalypse Matrix automatically clearing mental corruption. If it were ordinary survivors, they would likely end up like Su Wanwan earlier, walking in circles in the building until they starved to death, let alone getting the crates. My current doubt was, in a place like this, how could other survivors possibly get the supply crates? Could it be that the system is giving us special treatment? I speculated to myself. Our 5-person team had faced crises and difficulties far beyond what ordinary survivors could withstand. Thinking it over, this was the only explanation that made sense. Big Brother Wu Di. Su Wanwan pointed at the survivors on the center console screen who were still blindly searching in various buildings, and asked softly, "Should we go collect those scattered supplies? Since we're already here." I looked at the figures on the screen. They were like scavengers in the apocalypse, rummaging through food that had been sitting in buildings for who knows how long. I even saw a survivor find a barrel of fuel, a look of relief on his face. "No, leave those for them. Xiaoxi, let's leave." "Understood, Commander." Retracting the drone, preparing to depart Chingshi Town. The RV accelerated again, quickly rushing out of the fog-shrouded Chingshi Town and returning to the mist highway. I looked back. Chingshi Town had completely vanished into the thick black fog, as if it had never existed. The survivors in the town had no idea that the only 3 high-level supply crates in this public area had all been taken by us. On the road ahead, I kept an eye on the communication channel. Sure enough, the appearance of the public area had caused an uproar. Holy crap! Another public area appeared. It won't be like last time, where you can't even stay inside. I've already entered. The buildings here are different from the ones outside. They can't block the black fog. Be careful if you're coming in. There's plenty of stuff. Keep searching. Has anyone encountered the high-level supply crates mentioned in the tips? I've been turning around for ages and only got 100 units of fuel. Damn it. I just passed by and saw 3 people fighting. I was just passing through and got shot a few times. If I didn't have purple bulletproof glass, I would have died for no reason. Hurry up and search. There are no monsters here, but it's just too weird. A word of advice. If you see others, run. There are no normal people left here. Where do you guys get these high-level items? I'm still using blue-quality items. Everyone, try not to attack each other. I suspect this survival game is deliberately leading us to kill each other. The RV moved steadily forward. Soon, it was 11 a.m. Lin Yu rushed out of the domain space, ran all the way to the passenger seat, grabbed Su Wanwan's arm, and asked excitedly, "Sister Wanwan, did you really get 3 gold supply crates today? You guys are too amazing." "It's true, Xiaoyu." Su Wanwan nodded with a smile and pointed to the corner of the sofa. "They're all over there." "Holy crap. For real." Su Kursen's voice came from behind. She had also emerged from the domain space, looking shocked. "Boss, Wanwan, you guys are too capable." I sighed helplessly. Anything Su Kursen said always had a strange flavor to it. Su Wanwan couldn't help but laugh, then got up to prepare lunch with Lin Shi. Su Kursen leaned over to the driver's seat, looking curious. "Boss, did you encounter other players earlier? Did they try anything?" After saying that, she turned to look at Lin Yu, patting her chest to guarantee. "Xiaoyu, if we encounter another public area this afternoon, I'll take you to get a gold supply crate. Let me tell you, those ghost walls don't work on me at all." Lin Yu looked at me, and seeing that I didn't object, she nodded happily. "Okay, Sister Su. I want to see if it's really that weird. Xiaoyu, let me tell you this thing." Watching Su Kursen chatter on, I estimated the time and interrupted her. "All right, enough talk. Go eat." After lunch, Su Kursen and Lin Yu squeezed into the passenger seat, keeping an eye on the front. Lin Shi and Su Wanwan sat on the sofa, looking at the content on the channel and chatting in low voices from time to time. Not long after driving, Xiaoxi's voice suddenly sounded. "Commander, a building complex detected 1,000 meters ahead. Estimated to be a new public area. I have already deployed the global stealth reconnaissance drone in advance." I sat up straight immediately and looked at the center console screen. Lin Shi and the others also gathered around. As the RV approached, the system notification interface popped up on time. Ding, public area discovered. Heishi Town. Area description. High-level supply crates exist in this area. "Xiaoxi, locate all supply crates immediately," I said in a low voice. "Understood, Commander." The drone is currently conducting a cruise scan. The RV didn't stop, and under Xiaoxi's control, it began to slow down. Lin Shi looked at the red dots appearing on the center console screen and asked, Xiaoxi, are these all other survivors? Yes, Miss Lin Shi. 10 teams, totaling 13 people, have been scanned in Heishi Town. 2 gold supply crates have been located. The first is in an abandoned factory in the east of the town, with no survivor activity nearby. The second is on the second-floor balcony of a building in the town center, where 3 teams, totaling 6 people, are in a standoff. The complete map of Heishi Town was clearly displayed on the center console screen, with the 2 yellow dots standing out. Let's go, let's go. Xiaoxi, these are all ours. Su Kursen shouted excitedly, then turned to look at me. Boss, shall we go break up the fight? And pick up the supply crate while we're at it? I ignored her, looked at the map carefully, and said, Xiaoxi, let's go get the one in the east that's unattended first. Understood, Commander. Optimal route planned. The RV drove silently into Heishi Town. Less than 2 minutes later, it stopped at the entrance of the abandoned factory. Boss, let me and Xiaoyu go. Su Kursen volunteered immediately, gripping the cloud-piercing bow in her hand. Don't worry, I'll protect Xiaoyu. I don't believe any ghost wall can trap me. My mind is clear. Lin Yu also looked at me with longing and nodded vigorously. Big brother Wu Di, I'll go with Sister Su. We'll be careful. Looking at their expectant eyes, I nodded. Don't worry, boss. We'll be back in a bit. Su Kursen patted her chest and pulled Lin Yu out of the vehicle. Lin Shi watched the figures of Lin Yu and Su Kursen walking into the factory on the center console screen, her fingertips tightening slightly. Su Wanwan gently held her hand and comforted her softly. Shi, don't worry. Xiaoyu has grown up. And with Xiaoxi there, nothing will happen. Not long after they got off the vehicle, Xiaoxi's voice sounded. Commander, it is detected that Ms. Su Kursen and Ms. Lin Yu are currently under mental corruption. Shall I activate the Apocalypse Matrix for remote shielding? I looked at the center console screen, where Su Kursen and Lin Yu were walking aimlessly around a pile of construction waste, and asked, Xiaoxi, has the standoff in the town center ended? Commander, the standoff is still ongoing. Hearing Xiaoxi's reply, I hesitated. Xiaoxi, no rush to shield them yet. Let them walk for a while. Lin Shi and Su Wanwan looked at each other upon hearing my words and said nothing, just silently watching the figures of Su Kursen and Lin Yu on the screen. Time ticked by. A full hour later, I finally had Xiaoxi activate the Apocalypse Matrix. 5 minutes later, Su Kursen and Lin Yu finally ran out of the factory, their faces full of excitement. As soon as she got on the vehicle, Su Kursen said triumphantly, Boss, we got the supply crate. It's also gold level. Su Kursen lifted her chin proudly and continued, You just have too many little schemes in your head, which is why you get trapped by ghost walls. Simple people like me and Xiaoyu definitely won't be affected. No sooner had she finished speaking than she saw Lin Shi and Su Wanwan looking at her with strange expressions. What's with those looks? Su Kursen paused. Xiaoyu and I came back as soon as we got the crate. Lin Yu also scratched her head in confusion. Sister, did we really stay in there for a long time? I feel like we were only in there for a few minutes. I said calmly. Not too long. You just walked around in there for an hour. Xiaoxi, head to the next supply crate. Understood, Commander. Su Kursen's face fell instantly, looking incredulous. Huh? Impossible. You're lying to me, right? It's really amazing, Sister Su, and I didn't feel a thing. Lin Yu also said with wonder. I didn't respond, my gaze already fixed ahead. Less than 3 minutes later, the RV appeared silently in the town center. On the road, 3 vehicles were parked in a triangular formation, doors tightly shut. No one had gotten out, and no one had left. The 3 parties had been in a standoff for nearly 2 hours, just a few meters apart. When an RV suddenly approached and stopped right in the middle of the 3 vehicles, everyone's expression changed instantly. They hadn't heard any engine noise at all. The vehicle seemed to have crawled out of the black fog, stopping silently between them. However, when they saw the exterior of the RV, they all breathed a sigh of relief. The RV showed no signs of added equipment, so it shouldn't be too powerful. Big brother Wu Di, why are they all staying in their vehicles and not coming out? Lin Yu asked curiously, looking at the 3 vehicles outside. Xiaoyu, You have to ask me about that, Su Kursen said triumphantly. It's so safe inside. If you get out and someone takes a potshot at you, you're done for. This is valuable experience I gained when I was surviving on my own. Hearing Su Kursen, Lin Yu giggled and said, But Sister Su, Big Brother Wu Di never does that. Su Kursen's face fell. Who can compare to the monster that is the boss? He's not a normal person at all. Lin Shi suddenly interrupted them. Big Brother Wu Di, are we going down directly? Or, before she could finish, Xiao Shi's voice sounded. Commander, it is detected that the 6 people in the 3 vehicles are in a state of extreme vigilance, but their intent to attack is not strong. Do you need to activate the 30mm cannon to attack? I looked at the screen showing the yellow-skinned, black-haired people and hesitated for a moment. Xiao Shi, cancel the holographic camouflage on the cannon. Fire 2 incendiary shells at the open space next to them. Understood, Commander. As Xiao Shi finished speaking, a cannon barrel suddenly appeared on top of the RV. Then boom, boom, 2 loud bangs rang out, and 2 incendiary shells trailing orange-red flames whistled out, striking the open space next to them with precision. A massive fireball erupted instantly, the raging flames looking particularly glaring in the black fog. Seeing this, I stood up and said calmly, You guys stay here, I'm going down to get the supply crate. After saying that, I walked out of the vehicle. Arriving at the entrance of the building, I glanced at the vehicles in the 3 directions. I'm only here for the supply crate. I don't want to kill anyone. My voice wasn't loud, but it reached everyone's ears clearly. Having said that, I ignored the 3 vehicles and walked straight into the building. In less than a minute, I reappeared in everyone's view. Glancing at the 3 vehicles that still hadn't moved, I returned to the RV. Xiao Shi, let's go. Understood, Commander. The RV started again, silently driving away from the town center, and soon disappeared into the black fog. Not until the RV was completely out of sight did someone in the 3 vehicles finally let out a long sigh of relief and slump into their seat, their backs soaked with cold sweat. At this moment, inside my RV, Lin Yu leaned in beside me and said excitedly, Big Brother Wu Di, you were so cool just now. Exactly, boss. The expressions on those people's faces on the center console screen earlier were hilarious. Not a single one of them dared to move. Su Kursen said from the side, clearly excited. Lin Shi and Su Wanwan just stood by quietly. At that moment, Lin Shi noticed that my expression had changed, so she gave Su Wanwan a look and said, Xiao Yu, Sister Su, let's go into the domain space and tend to the vegetable patch. Huh? But I still want to. Su Kursen started to protest, but Lin Shi pulled her up without giving her a choice. Lin Yu was also grabbed by Lin Shi, and they all headed toward the domain space. Sister Su, you stay here and keep Wu Di company. If you need anything, just call us. After saying this, Lin Shi dragged the reluctant Su Kursen and Lin Yu into the domain space. The RV fell silent instantly. I leaned back in the driver's seat, thinking about those people from earlier, and muttered to myself, as long as I have enough strength, I have the confidence to fear nothing. For the rest of the afternoon, we didn't encounter any more public areas. The RV moved steadily forward, encountering neither monsters nor any other survivors. Around 5 in the evening, after we finished dinner, everyone gathered around the coffee table, waiting for Su Wanwan to refresh her daily talent treasure chest. When the time came, Su Wanwan skillfully opened the chest and displayed the attributes of the item she had drawn. Fragmentation Grenade Blueprint, blue quality. Standard Defensive Fragmentation Grenade, prefabricated fragmentation shell, pull ring safety, 3.5-second delay before detonation. The explosion produces 300 plus high-speed steel fragments, with an effective kill radius of 5 meters, a lethal radius of 3 meters, and a maximum fragment dispersion distance of 15 meters. Crafting requirements: metal block X1, gunpowder X1, electronic component X1. Holy crap. Wanwan, why have you been pulling stuff like this lately? Su Kursen's eyes widened. Are we about to switch careers and become arms dealers? Hearing Su Kursen's words, I paused for a moment, then my eyes lit up. I thought it over carefully. We already had the blueprints for the M9 pistol, 5.8mm ammunition, and 7.62mm ammunition, And now we had the fragmentation grenade blueprint as well. At this stage of the game, these items were definitely more valuable as universal currency than food or water, and they would be much easier to trade for the rare materials we desperately needed. Thinking of this, I looked at Lin Shi, took the stack of blueprints from my personal space, and handed them to her. Lin Shi, take these. From now on, we don't have to rely solely on food and water to trade for materials. Using these arms should be much more efficient. Just then, Lin Yu pouted and said resentfully, Big brother Wu Di, I'm usually the one doing the trading. How come you only have eyes for my sister? Hearing this, my hand, which was still extended, froze, and I felt a bit awkward. Hee Xiaoyu. Su Kersen suddenly hugged Lin Yu and said with a wink, Look, she is our head housekeeper, and you're acting just like our little deputy housekeeper. Sister Su, don't talk nonsense. That's not it at all. Lin Yu's face turned bright red instantly. You guys go ahead and open the chests. I'm going to check the road conditions up front. I quickly found an excuse to return to the driver's seat. A moment later, Lin Shi walked gently to the side of the driver's seat and whispered, Big brother Wu Di, these are the spoils from the 3 gold supply crates. It's very strange. All 3 crates contained weapons. After saying that, she clearly displayed the attributes of all the supplies in front of me. Quantum primordial matter X30, fuel X360, gunpowder X100, compressed biscuits X120, can luncheon meat X80, mineral water 500 milliliters X60, silver grade talent fragment X3, M4A1 carbine, blue quality. Modular rifle, equipped with a scope, silencer, and tactical flashlight. High accuracy, low recoil, excellent ergonomics, and superb stability during continuous fire. Effective range 400 meters, ammunition 5.56 millimeters. Comes with a 30-round magazine. SVD designated marksman rifle, purple quality. Semi-automatic sniper rifle, designed for long-range precision strikes. Can penetrate standard body armor and light vehicle armor. A hit to the torso causes fatal damage. Effective range 800 meters, ammunition 7.62 millimeters. Equipped with a 4x optical scope. Comes with a 10-round magazine. VSS Vintorez suppressed sniper rifle, purple quality. Features an integrated silencer and 4x optical scope. Firing is almost silent and flashless. Can penetrate standard body armor at a distance of 300 meters. Effective range 400 meters, ammunition 9 millimeters. Comes with a 10-round magazine. Looking at the haul, my eyes immediately locked onto the 30 units of quantum primordial matter. Adding the 10 units Lin Yu and the others had traded for earlier, I now had a full 40 units of quantum primordial matter in my possession. I felt a wave of relief. It seemed that giving the first talent promotion gem to Lin Shi had truly been a massive win. Good work, I said, looking up at Lin Shi softly. To my surprise, when Lin Shi heard this, her cheeks turned bright red. She didn't say a word, turned around, and hurried back to the living area. I stared at her retreating back in confusion. What was that about? Tisk, TSK, boss, you've finally wised up. Su Kersen had snuck up at some point and was leaning over the back of the driver's seat, whispering with a mischievous grin. You finally made a move on Shi. Not bad, boss. I didn't realize you had it in you. Hearing Su Kersen's teasing, I instantly understood why Lin Shi had run off. I couldn't be bothered to explain, so I just looked at Su Kersen with a headache. Since you're so free, why don't you sleep with me tonight? Huh? Really? Su Kersen's eyes lit up, but then she acted coy. Boss, wouldn't that be a bit inappropriate? If she finds out, she'll have something to say about it. Seeing her act like this, I was both annoyed and amused. All right, get out of here and stop bothering me. TCH, boring. Su Kersen pouted and lay down directly in the passenger seat. Fine, I'll reluctantly keep you company here, just so you don't go looking for me in the middle of the night. I didn't respond to her and closed my eyes to rest. The RV soon became completely quiet. Time ticked away, and soon it was exactly midnight. The talents had refreshed. I sat up right on time, my gaze falling on the constructed armored soldier, black armor mech guard blueprint in my personal space. I had obtained this blueprint from clearing a dungeon earlier, but materials had been tight, and I knew that if I used talent enhancement on it, The required materials would inevitably increase to a level I couldn't afford at the time. So, it had been left idle, a chicken rib that was too valuable to discard but too costly to use. After thinking for a moment, I sent a private message to Lin Yu. Less than 3 minutes later, Lin Yu ran out of the bedroom in her pajamas. Yo, Xiaoyu. Su Kursen sat up immediately, grinning wickedly. Not sleeping in the middle of the night and coming to find the boss. You aren't here for a night raid, are you? Lin Yu ignored her teasing, skillfully applied talent amplification to me, then looked at Su Kursen and blinked. Sister Su, don't you want to go back and rest? Huh? Su Kursen looked at Lin Yu, confused. Xiaoyu, that's not good. Be careful, or she will beat you up if she finds out. Sister Su, what are you talking about? Lin Yu's face turned red instantly, and she turned around and scurried back to the bedroom. Su Kursen scratched her head and looked at me, about to say something. I glared at her, my tone brooks no argument. Don't speak. If you say another word, you won't be eating tomorrow. Su Kursen immediately shut her mouth, though she kept staring at me with a resentful look. I ignored her and focused all my attention on my personal space. My eyes scanned back and forth between the heavy hammer armored unit and constructed armored soldier, black armor mech guard blueprints, feeling a bit nervous. If I could successfully fuse and enhance them this time, I would likely obtain the most powerful item I had ever possessed since arriving in this survival world. Taking a deep breath, I focused my mind and activated the furnace of all things, talent. Ding! Do you choose the heavy hammer armored unit as the primary sacrifice and the constructed armored soldier, black armor mech guard, as the secondary sacrifice? Just as I was about to confirm, I hesitated. I canceled the operation, scanned my personal space, and my eyes landed on the space expansion scroll that Su Wanwan had opened earlier. A thought flashed through my mind. Ding! Do you choose the heavy hammer armored unit as the primary sacrifice and the constructed armored soldier, black armor mech guard, and space expansion scroll as secondary sacrifices? Ding! Talent usage successful, promoted to Tier 3. Obtained. Heavy Hammer Black Armor Legion. Unit 01, Eternal Quality. The moment I saw the words Eternal Quality, I suppressed my inner excitement and quickly opened the attribute panel of this brand new item. Heavy Hammer Black Armor Legion. Unit 01, Eternal Quality. Used to obtain Unit 01. Unit 01, 12 meters tall, covered in self-repairing biometal armor, and possesses short-range spatial jump capabilities. The ultimate war creation, based on the mass production logic of the heavy hammer armored unit, fused with the construction technology of the black armor mech guard and the space expansion capability, it is the source of an inexhaustible torrent of steel. Dimensional Production Workshop. Unit 01 contains an initial 100,000 cubic meter independent dimensional space, featuring an integrated fully automatic smelting, forging, and assembly production line. It can automatically dismantle all collected usable materials and mass-produce heavy hammer Xuanjia warriors 24 hours a day. Legion Control. Unit 01 can absolutely control all heavy hammer Xuanjia warriors under its command, sharing all battlefield vision and combat data to achieve zero-latency coordinated combat. Core Intelligence. Possesses independent thinking and logical judgment, absolutely loyal to the sole host. Capable of battlefield simulation, it can autonomously formulate optimal tactics and dynamically adjust production priorities. It can continuously evolve by absorbing combat data, constantly optimizing body structure and production algorithms. Note: from this moment on, you are no longer fighting alone. The torrent of steel under your command will trample all obstacles for you. Looking at the long list of attributes, my hand on the steering wheel trembled slightly. The excitement inside me was almost overflowing. This was a true eternal-grade war machine. As long as there were enough materials, it could produce soldiers endlessly. And this was just the capability of Unit 01 itself. If I summoned it, and then used my talent to enhance it again, my eyes burned with intensity. Thinking of this, I could no longer suppress my excitement. I stood up abruptly and tossed a sentence to Su Kursen, who was still lying in the passenger seat. Stay here. I have something to do. Without waiting for her reaction, I rushed into the domain space. I didn't even glance at the thriving vegetable garden in the domain space and walked straight to the most open area. I took a deep breath, focused my mind, and chose to use Heavy Hammer Black Armor Legion, Unit 01. As the item dissipated, the space in front of me began to distort violently. The next second, a massive shadow rose from the ground, and a heavy sense of oppression instantly swept through the entire domain space. Appearing before me was a 12-meter-tall humanoid mecha. Its entire body was covered in dark biometal armor that shimmered with a living, metallic luster. Every armor plate was perfectly streamlined, sharp-edged, and filled with a sense of power. Its legs were planted firmly in the ground like mountains. A low humming sound echoed as Unit 01 slowly opened its eyes. Two cold red scanning beams swept over my body. Host gene binding in progress. Binding successful. Soul host confirmed. Woody. Energy reserves insufficient. Current remaining energy, 3%. Only basic standby mode can be maintained. The cold mechanical voice spoke without any emotion. Energy reserves insufficient. I frowned. How could it be low on energy the moment it was summoned? Then I remembered the 240-hour endurance of the previous heavy hammer armored unit, and I cursed internally. No way. This side effect carried over. Did this thing not upgrade? Finally, I helplessly asked the giant in front of me, "What kind of energy do you need?" "Compatible with all known energy types," Unit 01 replied concisely. I nodded, and just as I was about to say something else, a fatal problem suddenly popped into my mind. I looked up at the 12-meter-tall behemoth and was instantly stunned. Wait, it's so big. How am I supposed to take it out of the domain space? I quickly tried to recall Unit 01 into my personal space, but the system didn't respond. I tried several times, but the result was the same. What do I do now? I looked at the motionless Unit 01, feeling like crying. No way. Am I really going to be stuck with this ultimate weapon as a mere decoration in the domain space forever? I sighed helplessly and ordered, "Stand by for now. Do not move." Unit 01's red eyes slowly dimmed, and it returned to a static state, like a cold steel statue. I shook my head, turned around, and walked out of the domain space, returning to the driver's seat. Sue Curson had watched me rush into the domain space in a hurry, only to return less than half an hour later looking dejected and sitting there in a daze. Finally, she couldn't help but whisper, "Boss." After calling out for a while and seeing no reaction, Sue Curson could only shut her mouth and lie back down in the passenger seat. My mind was entirely focused on how to get Unit 01 out of the domain space. I was secretly glad I hadn't acted on impulse and summoned it outside, or I would have been forced to leave it on the side of the road. I recalled the stellar performance of the Apocalypse Matrix today and its staggering energy consumption. Perhaps an eternal-grade item isn't something that should even exist at this stage, I muttered to myself. But soon, my eyes regained their luster. Forget it, no point in dwelling on it. I'll use my talent to enhance it again tomorrow. I want to see what happens after eternal grade. Thinking of this, the restlessness in my heart returned. But then, I felt another headache coming on. I had thought the Apocalypse Matrix was a massive energy hog, consuming 25% of the stellar core fusion reactor's energy in a single day. If I encountered similar situations, this newly installed red-quality stellar core fusion reactor would likely be scrapped in a few days. And now, there was Unit 01, also of eternal quality. Although I didn't know its specific energy consumption, I knew it wouldn't be much less than the Apocalypse Matrix. Thinking of this, I immediately thought of the arms blueprints I had given to Lin Shi. Looks like the arms trade needs to happen as soon as possible. You guys better survive. I closed my eyes to rest, thinking silently that resources were still too scarce. Time flew by, and it was 5 in the morning. Lin Shi and the others walked out of the bedroom on time and began preparing breakfast. After eating, Lin Shi, Su Wanwan, and Sue Curson gathered near the driver's seat. Sue Curson suddenly leaned into Lin Shi's ear and whispered, "Shi, let me tell you, the boss snuck into the domain space alone in the middle of the night yesterday. I don't know what he was doing, but he came back looking completely dejected." She paused, winked, and continued, "I suspect the boss was rewarding himself last night. If you don't take the initiative, it's such a waste." Lin Shi's ears turned bright red. She quickly covered Su Kerson's mouth and scolded. Stop talking nonsense. I naturally heard Su Kerson's words. Over the past few days, I had developed the ability to automatically filter out her nonsense, so I just pretended not to hear. Lin Yu, sitting in the passenger seat, asked, Sister Wanwan, do you think we'll encounter as many gold supply crates today as we did yesterday? Su Wanwan shook her head and said softly, Xiaoyu, it's unlikely to be the same as yesterday. Every day we've been here, the crises we've faced have never been the same. Hearing Su Wanwan's words, everyone nodded. I was also wondering what kind of crisis we would encounter today. Since we set off this morning, I had felt an inexplicable sense of unease. This feeling came without warning, yet it lingered in my heart, as if some great terror was quietly waiting for us ahead. Especially as the RV continued to move at 300 kilometers per hour, this unease became increasingly intense. It was 8 in the morning. I finally couldn't help but ask, Xiaoxi, have you detected any abnormalities? Commander, no biological signals detected, no abnormal mental fluctuations detected. All vehicle systems are operating normally. Xiaoxi's voice sounded steady. My words immediately attracted everyone's attention in the cabin. Big Brother Wu Di, Lin Yu said, scrolling through the communication channel. There doesn't seem to be anything going on in the communication channel, except for a few people saying they felt an earthquake. Although Lin Shi didn't know why I was suddenly so nervous, she had known me long enough to know she had never seen me like this. She quickly said, Big Brother Wu Di, there really isn't anything unusual in the communication channel. Are you worried about something? Don't you know the boss by now? Su Kerson said carelessly. He's the guy who can slice bullets with a blade. Besides, with our setup, who wouldn't have to take a couple of shells before they could even get close? I ignored Su Kerson and carefully scrolled through the content of the communication channel. After looking for a long time, I really didn't find any useful information. I turned to them, my expression serious. I just feel like something bad is going to happen today. Everyone, be careful. Seeing my serious expression, Su Kerson, who had wanted to make a joke, nodded obediently. It was the first time she had seen me like this. The RV maintained a speed of 300 kilometers per hour, speeding steadily along the mist highway. I noticed that the comments in the communication channel discussing the earthquake were becoming more frequent. Did you guys feel the ground shaking? I felt it several times already. Is this survival world going to have earthquakes now? I haven't felt anything. Don't talk nonsense. If there's an earthquake, how are we supposed to run? If the road collapses, we're dead. It's not the last day yet, is it? We've had lava and floods before. This time it wouldn't turn into an earthquake, would it? Brothers, I'm not planning on moving today. I've survived the last few days like this. If you don't want to die, don't run around. Maybe if we just hunker down today, we can survive safely. Just then, Xiaoxi's voice sounded again. Commander, slight ground vibration detected. No biological signals within a 1,000-meter detection range. Based on seismic wave analysis, natural earthquake possibility is ruled out. Insufficient information for further analysis. See, I told you, Su Kerson said, complaining. This is the result of having too high a configuration. We didn't even feel a thing before the vibration ended. Lin Yu nodded in agreement, and the two of them exchanged a look, both wearing expressions that said, we understand best. A thought flashed through my mind. Should I turn off the anti-gravity field to see what it feels like? But I abandoned the idea as soon as it appeared. Xiaoxi's perception is definitely more reliable than any of ours. Before I could ponder further, Xiaoxi's voice rang out. Commander, a common supply crate has been detected 1,000 meters ahead. Preparing to pull over. Real-time footage has been synced to the center console screen. The 5 of us in the RV immediately looked at the center console screen. On the screen, about a meter from the roadside, a supply crate had suddenly appeared. Once the RV entered the 10-meter visual range, we could clearly see the crate on the edge of the road, flickering with a faint light through the black fog, exactly the same as the ones we saw on our first day in this world. Sister Wanwan, there really are more supply crates. Lin Yu said excitedly. Maybe today will be just like yesterday. It's so eerie, Su Kerson said, uncharacteristically serious, her brow furrowed. Boss, could this be a trap? Although I was surprised that Su Kursen was finally being serious, I shook my head. It should be normal. Xiaoxi hasn't detected any anomalies. I still have absolute trust in Xiaoxi's current capabilities. Brother Wu Di, let me go down and get it, Su Wanwan said, standing up. I nodded. In less than 5 seconds, Su Wanwan returned to the vehicle with the supply crate. Xiaoxi immediately started the engine, and we continued forward. Lin Yu immediately got up from the passenger seat and crowded around Su Wanwan, asking nervously, Sister Wanwan, how is it? Do you feel any discomfort? Are you dizzy? Did you see anything strange? Su Wanwan smiled and patted Lin Yu's head. Xiao Yu, I just stepped out to grab a box. What could possibly happen? With that, she placed the supply crate on the coffee table and looked at me. Brother Wu Di, everything is perfectly normal. Seeing that everything was normal, I actually felt that today's situation was becoming increasingly bizarre. Time ticked by. I noticed that the survivors in the communication channel were indeed starting to find common supply crates by the roadside, just like us. And just like the ones we encountered, they were all basic, common supply crates found not far from the road. Brother Wu Di, today is truly abnormal, Lin she said with a frown. It's as if someone is deliberately placing these supply crates by the road to lure us out. Could there be some danger if we keep getting out of the vehicle? Listening to Lin Shi's analysis, I thought for a moment and nodded. That makes sense. For the next crates, we'll take turns going down to retrieve them. Xiaoxi, if there is any sign of danger, activate the Apocalypse Matrix immediately. Understood, Commander. I will continue to monitor everyone's status. During the journey that followed, Xiaoxi would alert us every dozen minutes or so about ground vibrations, but she never detected any useful information. Including the first one, we had collected a total of 9 common supply crates. Other than that, we had no other findings. By the time we finished lunch, nothing else had happened. Lin Shi and the others stayed inside the RV instead of going into the domain space. Today's situation was too strange, and they kept monitoring the activity in the communication channel. 13:34 p.m. Brother Wu Di, Lin Yu suddenly exclaimed. Someone in the communication channel just said they were attacked. Their vehicle has been destroyed, but they didn't say what the attack was. Hearing Lin Yu's words, my nerves, which had been tightly coiled, finally relaxed a little. Since the morning, I had been in a state of extreme suppression. On one hand, there was that lingering, overwhelming sense of dread. On the other, a deep helplessness in the face of the unknown. Now that I knew there was an actual attack, I felt much more grounded. Su Kursen immediately leaned over to Lin Yu, hugged her, and said excitedly, Xiao Yu, you're so capable. You were the first to spot it. Soon after, I noticed that more and more players in the communication channel were reporting attacks. Just then, Xiaoxi's voice suddenly rang out. Commander, high-speed projectile attack detected. Estimated arrival in 1 second. Target, RV roof. Assessment, the primordial construct armor cannot be penetrated. Attack concluded. No impact caused. Source of attack cannot be detected. The attack process has been synced to the center console screen. Hearing this, everyone immediately gathered around the center console screen. On the screen, the attack was being played in slow motion. A dark, gray boulder the size of a car whistled out of the fog like a cannonball, striking the roof of the RV with precision. However, the moment it touched the primordial construct armor, the boulder shattered into countless fragments and scattered. The RV didn't even shake. Holy crap! Su Kursen stared at the car-sized rock on the screen and couldn't help but curse. Boss, is this the treatment for being ranked number 1? I saw in the communication channel that the ones others are encountering are at most the size of a human head. Is it raining rocks from the sky today? Lin Yu blinked, looking curious. It's so magical. Su Kursen immediately rubbed Lin Yu's cheeks hard, laughing and crying at the same time. Xiao Yu, how is this magical? This is life-threatening. Brother Wu Di, Lin Shi's expression was grave. The flight speed of this rock was too fast. If it were any larger and hit us from the side, I understood what Lin Shi meant. While such a rock wouldn't penetrate the RV's armor, the massive impact could easily knock the RV off the highway. If we were forced off the road, we would be finished. Miss Lin Shi, you can rest assured, Xiaoxi's voice chimed in at the right moment. I can monitor all incoming projectiles at all times and take evasive maneuvers. For any projectiles that might affect the RV's path, I will directly activate the autocannon to intercept and destroy them. Xiaoxi's words allowed everyone in the RV to breathe a sigh of relief. Xiaoxi, you're just too amazing, Linyu said happily. I wish you had a physical body. Thank you for the compliment, Vice Commander. I will continue to work hard to better protect the commander and everyone else. However, Xiaoxi's next alert instantly caused the relaxed atmosphere in the vehicle to freeze. Commander, a supergiant biological signal has been detected. Target information has been synced to the center console screen. I immediately looked at the screen. A scarlet name appeared at the top, followed by a long list of hair-raising attributes. Mist Rock Titan. A supergiant aberration born from the fusion of mist energy and granite veins deep in the Earth's crust. Height, 80 meters. Shoulder width, 16 meters. Weight, up to 8,000 tons. The entire body is covered in 2.5-meter thick dark gray primordial rock armor, with gray-black mist constantly seeping from the gaps. No visible mouth or nose. Attack methods, primarily long-range rock throwing. Maximum lifting capacity, 600 tons. Maximum throwing distance, 50,000 meters. Maximum throwing speed, 780 kilometers per hour. In melee combat, it can launch giant palm strikes and stomps. Core skill, Meteor Fall. Draws upon the Earth's energy within a 10-kilometer radius, tearing the underground rock layers and launching them to an altitude of 10,000 meters. After energy acceleration, the burning meteors perform an indiscriminate area of effect attack on targets within a 5,000-meter radius, simultaneously triggering devastating chain reactions. Traits: immune to cold weapon attacks. Rock armor reduces thermal weapon damage by 95%. Can absorb surrounding rock and soil to rapidly repair itself. The low-frequency vibrations generated during movement are distorted by the mist, making it impossible to determine its exact location via sound. Weaknesses: obvious gaps exist at the joints of the rock armor and the abdomen. An absolute natural disaster within the mist. No power can stop its advance. When everyone saw the information, they all gasped, and the cabin fell into a deathly silence. I stared at the Mist Rock Titan's data. 80 meters tall, 8,000 tons, 95% damage reduction from thermal weapons, and infinite self-repair. Is this something we can even contend with? Immediately after, Xiaoxi's alert sounded again. Commander, the Mist Rock Titan's biological signal has disappeared. I stared at the monster's info on the screen with a grim expression, my fingers tightening unconsciously on the steering wheel. I had previously thought that at this stage, nothing could pose a threat to me anymore. Yet, the reality before me had slapped me hard. Even though I was far ahead of all other players, I still felt so insignificant in the face of this true natural disaster of the survival game. Brother Wu Di, Su Wanwan's voice trembled slightly. Is this really something we can fight? Boss, you can definitely beat it. Su Kursen feigned composure and patted her chest. I'm your number one lackey. My life is in your hands, boss. Hearing Su Kursen's wisecracks, the atmosphere, which had been suppressed to the extreme, finally eased up a little. She walked over to Lin Yu, who was pale with fright, hugged her, and patted her back comfortingly while looking at me. Brother Wu Di, this survival game shouldn't be trying to kill us directly. This monster is likely just passing through. It's probably not an enemy we need to face at this stage. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to calm down. I looked at them, my eyes becoming firm again. Regardless, what's coming will come. We just have to face it. Xiaoxi, continue forward. After saying that, I watched the mist flying past the window with only one thought in my mind. All fear comes from a lack of firepower. Just give me some time. The RV continued to speed along the mist highway at 300 kilometers per hour, the thick black fog outside the window receding like flowing ink. The atmosphere inside the cabin remained heavy. The appearance of the Mist Rock Titan had cast an inescapable shadow over everyone's hearts. So, those inexplicable ground vibrations earlier weren't earthquakes, but that big guy walking. Su Kursen broke the silence first, patting her chest with lingering fear. 8,000 tons. Every step it takes makes the ground shake. Boss, can you beat it? I hesitated, calculating silently. If I put on the Titan's Wrath, I might be able to hold my own, but killing it would be nearly impossible. Unless the Titan's Wrath could unlock its full weapon systems, I wouldn't stand a chance. Probably not, I said truthfully. Su Kursen had just asked casually, not expecting me to actually be seriously considering whether I could fight it. Her mouth fell open in disbelief. Boss, you weren't actually thinking about going to fight it, were you? She knew I was strong, but she never imagined I could be mentioned in the same breath as such a world-ending, disaster-level monster. Brother Wu Di, let's not go fight it, okay? Lin Yu grabbed my arm, her face pale. That monster is too terrifying. Yeah, Brother Wu Di, Lin, she added quickly. As long as it doesn't attack us, there's no need to provoke it. It's too dangerous. Su Wanwan frowned, adding with concern, but what if it attacks us? Brother Wu Di, if it finds us tonight, can we even run away? I shook my head, unable to laugh or cry. I'm not crazy, why would I provoke it? As for tonight, I was silent for a moment, then asked the air, Xiaoxi, can you analyze why the Mist Rock Titan attacked us earlier? Commander, there is insufficient data for a precise analysis. I do not recommend using the Apocalypse Matrix for deep analysis. The energy consumption is too high. Xiaoxi's voice sounded steady. You can collect all player attack cases from the communication channel, and I will conduct a comprehensive behavioral analysis to infer its attack logic and formulate a targeted evasion plan. Wow, Xiaoxi can do that. Su Kursen was surprised. Yes, Miss Su Kursen. By modeling behavior through a large number of samples, we can effectively predict its attack patterns and minimize the risk of being attacked. Then I'll monitor the communication channel. Su Wanwan immediately raised her hand. Lin Shi and Lin Yu nodded as well. For the next hour, they all sat quietly in the cabin, occasionally reading the attack experiences of other players from the communication channel to Xiaoxi. An hour later, Xiaoxi's voice sounded again. Commander, 1,273 valid samples have been collected. Comprehensive analysis shows that the Mist Rock Titan's perception dimensions include sound, vibration, and heat sources. Among them, the priority for sensing supply crates refreshed on the roadside is the highest. All attack cases occurred within 3 minutes of survivors picking up a supply crate. Conclusion: there is an unknown energy link between the supply crates and the Mist Rock Titan. It is recommended to abandon all common supply crates along the way and reduce speed to 100 kilometers per hour, which can reduce the probability of attack by over 90%. Hearing Xiaoxi's analysis, the 4 women all looked at me. I nodded. I knew very well that, given the system's nature, the disasters we encountered would always be more terrifying than those faced by other players. It was fortunate that Xiaoxi had analyzed the attack logic in time. Otherwise, we might have had to face the full force of the Mist Rock Titan tonight. Xiaoxi, ignore all common supply crates along the way and maintain a speed of 100 kilometers per hour. Understood, Commander. I will monitor the surrounding environment at all times and notify you immediately if there are any anomalies. Seeing that I had made my decision, Lin Shi stood up and said, Brother Wu Di, then we'll go into the domain space first. Before she could finish, Su Kursen grabbed Lin Yu and Su Wanwan, pushing them toward the domain space while winking at Lin Shi. Cici, you stay here and keep the boss company. Send us a message if anything happens. Lin Shi was stunned for a moment, her cheeks turning slightly red, and she had no choice but to sit back in the passenger seat. I had intended to remind them not to worry about the big robot in the corner, but before I could speak, the 3 of them had already disappeared into the entrance of the domain space. I shook my head helplessly and turned back to monitor the communication channel. Less than a minute later, the entrance to the domain space burst open again. Su Kursen rushed out first, her face full of disbelief and shock, pointing behind her and shouting, Boss! Boss! A monster spawned at home. It's a giant robot over 10 meters tall. Immediately after, Lin Yu and Lin Shi ran out. Lin Yu's face showed no fear at all. Instead, she said excitedly, Brother Wu Di, did you make that robot? It's so cool. Did you prepare it just for me? Su Wanwan came out last, also looking clearly surprised, and looked at me, waiting for an explanation. I had expected this reaction, so I didn't hide much, saying carefully, that is the Unit 01 of the Heavy Hammer Black Armor Legion, our core combat force moving forward. As long as there are enough materials and energy, it can continuously produce robot soldiers. Robot soldiers? Sue Curson looked blank, then realized, her eyes widening. Boss, you mean, we're entering a mass production mode? Theoretically, yes. I nodded, then changed the subject. But there are two fatal problems. First, it's too big to be brought out of the domain space for now. Second, it is severely lacking in energy. Hearing this, Lin Shi in the passenger seat immediately spoke up. Speaking of energy and materials, I have already followed your instructions and listed the M9 pistol, 5.8mm ammunition, 7.62mm ammunition, and fragmentation grenades on the trading channel. The price is set at 3 times the production cost. But the problem remains the same, she sighed helplessly. The 4 of us only have 12 trade counts per day, which isn't enough to sell them. And no one can buy much at once, so the efficiency is too low. I nodded. This was also something I had anticipated. It's fine. Let's just do it this way. We'll trade as much as we can. Boss, that's it. Sue Curson looked dissatisfied. You don't plan on saying a few more words? Like, can this robot transform? Does it have laser cannons? Where did it come from? After that, she leaned over to Lin Shi and whispered, Cece, aren't you curious? Where does the boss get all these strange things? Do you think the boss might be an NPC in this game? Sister Sue, Brother Wu Di is just Brother Wu Di. Lin Shi shook her head, looking earnest. Forget it. Forget it. There's no saving you. Sue Curson waved her hand and said to me, Boss, if one day you tell me you're an alien, I probably wouldn't even doubt it. The time that followed, until 5 p.m., was calm and peaceful. Except for the common supply crates flashing by the roadside, Xiaoxi did not detect any other abnormal biological signals, nor were there any more boulder attacks. The RV was quiet, save for the constant notification sounds from the communication channel. But inside the channel, it was already chaos. More and more survivors were being crushed to death by the Mist Rock Titan's boulders because they had picked up supply crates. Descriptions of various tragedies flooded the entire channel, and the air of despair was almost overflowing from the screen. We just watched silently without saying a word. In the face of an absolute natural disaster, individual strength seemed so insignificant. All we could do was improve our own strength as quickly as possible. We had a simple dinner, and the time soon reached 6 p.m. sharp. Su Wanwan sat by the coffee table on time, took a deep breath, and opened her daily talent treasure chest. Wow, Sister Wanwan, it's another weapon-related blueprint. Lin Yu exclaimed immediately. Everyone gathered around to look at the attributes of the blueprint. 12.7mm heavy armor-piercing round blueprint. A large-caliber armor-piercing round designed specifically for anti-material weapons. Uses a tungsten steel core bullet head, capable of penetrating 300mm of homogeneous steel armor within a 1,000-meter range. It has extremely strong penetration effects on hard targets like rock and concrete, and can ignore most armor reductions. After use, permanently unlocks the production permission for 12.7mm heavy armor-piercing rounds. Production requirements: metal block X1, gunpowder X1, can produce 1 round. Immediately after, Lin Shi took out the remaining 2 gold supply crates from her personal space. Lin Yu skillfully applied talent amplification to Lin Shi, who then opened them one by one, displaying all the loot before everyone. Quantum primordial matter X20, fuel X200, gunpowder X150, glass X80. 5L pure peanut oil X1, mixed potato chip gift pack X1, military high-energy compressed biscuits, 10 kilograms. X1, 5 kilograms, cherries X1. Barrett M82A1 anti-material sniper rifle, purple quality. A semi-automatic large-caliber anti-material sniper rifle designed specifically for destroying light armored targets and long-range high-value targets. Effective range, 1,800 meters. Maximum range, 6,000 meters. Can fire 12.7mm machine gun rounds and armor-piercing rounds, producing massive stopping power and damage effects upon hitting a target. Equipped with an 8x optical scope and a built-in 10-round magazine. M134 minigun, purple quality. Vehicle item, 6-barrel rotary machine gun, 7.62 by 51mm caliber, Theoretical rate of fire 6,000 rounds/minute. Effective range 1,000 meters, 5,000 rounds of ammunition. Instantaneous firepower capable of shredding any unarmored target. Installation requirement: level 4 vehicle or higher. Big sister, 2 more purple quality weapons. Your luck lately is just too good. Lin Yu exclaimed excitedly. Are you looking for a beating again? Lin Shi glared at her. Lin Yu immediately hid behind me, poking her head out to mutter softly. It's true though. You just don't want me to say it. Cece, hurry up and take out the big cannon so I can see it. Su Kursen rubbed her hands together in excitement. Lin Shi paused, confused. Sister Su, what big cannon? Do you mean the minigun? What minigun? I mean the Barrett. Su Kursen looked at them as if they were hopeless. You guys are so young. Don't you even play games? This is a man's romance. Lin Shi smiled helplessly, took the Barrett out of my personal space, and placed it on the table. The cold gun body radiated a lethal beauty, and the thick barrel was full of power. Su Kursen immediately pounced on it, carefully stroking the gun body with an expression of pure obsession in her eyes. This is the big cannon. Ah, she said excitedly. Boss, can you give this gun to me? I love it to death. I'm never using my crappy bow and arrow again. Sister Su, didn't you say you only loved your cloud-piercing bow? Lin Yu chuckled. Little you, that's where you're wrong. Su Kursen said with a serious face. This is my youth. I didn't speak. My gaze remained fixed on the Barrett, my expression complex. It was too much of a coincidence. I had just encountered a mist rock titan that was 95% immune to thermal weapons, and then I opened a crate containing an anti-material sniper rifle specifically designed to pierce armor. Even the blueprint for the matching 12.7mm armor-piercing shells was included. Why is it such a coincidence? I muttered to myself. As soon as a crisis appears, the corresponding solution appears. Even the weapons and ammunition are prepared. Although I wasn't sure if the upgraded Barrett could deal with the Mist Rock Titan, I still felt that there were too many coincidences here. Too many to be normal. Subconsciously, I looked up at the lucky pendant hanging above the center console. This was an ornament I had opened from the very first silver-grade supply crate when I arrived in this world. To this day, I had never seen another accessory item of the same type. Even after opening countless gold supply crates, it had never appeared again. Could it be that you were the one bringing me this luck? Big Brother Wu Di, what's wrong? Lin Shi's voice rang in my ear, interrupting my thoughts. I snapped back to reality and realized the others were all looking at me. Boss, what are you thinking about again? Su Kursen said with dissatisfaction. You're always being so mysterious. We're all your people. It's nothing. I shook my head, reached out to take the Barrett from Su Kursen's hands, and put it back into my personal space. I can't give this to you yet. We'll talk about it later. I wasn't sure yet where I should use my talent tonight. My gaze fell back on the 20 units of quantum primordial matter. Adding the previous 40 units, I now had a full 60 units of quantum primordial matter in my hands. I had been worried about materials before, but at this moment, I felt that the only thing I lacked was time. Tonight, all of you stay here for now. Don't go into the domain space, I said with a serious expression. I'm still worried that the Mist Rock Titan might launch an attack at night. Staying in the RV is the safest. Big Brother Wu Di, you should sleep for a while, Su Wanwan said softly. We're all here. We'll call you if anything happens. I shook my head. Let's wait until the first half of the night is over. The oppression in my heart hadn't dissipated yet. I still had a premonition that today's crisis hadn't truly ended. After saying that, I turned and walked back to the driver's seat, leaning against the backrest while watching the endless mist outside the window. Lin Shi and the others exchanged glances, said nothing, and sat quietly around the coffee table, keeping a close eye on the communication channel. Before long, Lin Yu tiptoed over to me and whispered, Big Brother Wu Di, let me massage your shoulders. Big sister hasn't even enjoyed this treatment. Seeing her worried expression, I couldn't help but smile and reached out to rub her little face. I'm fine, and we will be fine, too. Although Lin Yu's cheeks turned bright red instantly, she didn't run away. Instead, she leaned in closer and used her small fists to gently massage my shoulders. She leaned into my ear and whispered in a voice only the two of us could hear. Big Brother Wu Di, I'll tell you a secret. Big sister calls your name in her sleep. Sister 11 does too. Looking at her mischievous expression, my previously heavy mood lightened significantly. I teased her, what about you? Do you call my name in your sleep? How would I know? Lin Yu's face turned red to the tips of her ears. After saying that, she covered her cheeks and scurried back to the sofa. A moment later, Su Kursen came over, just about to say something. I interrupted her directly. My tone brooks no argument. Don't say a word. Nothing is happening. Su Kursen looked at me with resentment, finally leaving behind. Boss, remember to call me next time there's a good thing like this. She laughed and ran back. I shook my head helplessly and leaned back against the chair, my mind filled with thoughts. It had been 22 days since I arrived in this world. In less than a month, I had gone from an ordinary person with nothing to the #1 survivor on the entire server. I possessed the most powerful RV in the world, the most advanced artificial intelligence, and my strength far surpassed all other players. At the same time, I had a team. They were the only warmth I had in this cold, desperate world, and I was their only reliance. I will definitely not fall here. The oppression in my heart returned. Based on past experience, if there was going to be an attack, it would likely be tonight. Thinking that my talent couldn't be used until after midnight, for the first time, I felt that time was passing so slowly. What I lack most now is time, I thought silently. If everything goes smoothly, I want to see what level of treasure chest such a natural disaster monster will drop. And in a place I didn't know, deep within the endless mist, the mist rock titan, which had been moving slowly, suddenly stopped. Its featureless head slowly turned toward the direction of my RV. Its cold, rocky body vibrated slightly, as if sensing something. After a pause of a few seconds, it lifted its massive foot and slowly took a step toward my direction. The earth shook violently. Beneath its feet, space rippled like water, and countless overlapping highways flickered in and out of existence. On every highway, a vehicle was driving. Each of its steps landed on countless parallel highways simultaneously. Just as it was about to take its second step, it seemed to suddenly sense something. Its movement stopped abruptly, and its massive head turned in another direction. After another few seconds of hesitation, it abandoned its original target, slowly turned around, and walked step by step in the opposite direction. Inside the RV, no one knew that Su Kursen's turned misfortune into fortune talent, which she didn't even know she possessed, had once again saved everyone's lives in silence. Time ticked away, second by second. Lin Shi and the others were all sitting on the sofa, keeping a close eye on the communication channel. Lin Yu would occasionally make a few trades and then tell Lin Shi about the supply she had gained. Everything was unnervingly calm. The hour hand slowly pointed to 11:58 p.m. I sat up straight, my fingers gripping the steering wheel involuntarily, the oppression in my heart almost bursting through my chest. Lin Yu, give me talent amplification. Okay, big brother Wu Di. Lin Yu immediately trotted over, skillfully applied the talent amplification to me, and then sat in the passenger seat, watching me quietly and curiously. I kept counting the time in my heart. Originally, I had made up my mind to use today's talent to upgrade Unit 01. If Unit 01 could be upgraded once more, perhaps it would solve the problem of not being able to take it out of the domain space, and it might also solve the energy issue. But now, the situation had changed. The appearance of the Mist Rock Titan was like a sword hanging over my head, ready to fall at any moment. And the Barret I had just acquired today gave me hope to fight against this natural disaster. Although in terms of quality, the Barret would likely only be orange or red quality after being upgraded, far inferior to the Eternal Grade Unit 01. But for me, equipment of this quality was relatively low level. Even the lowest level of orange quality might be a grade that no other player had ever seen or even knew existed. More importantly, what if Unit 01 still couldn't be taken out of the domain space after the upgrade, or the energy problem wasn't solved, or perhaps Unit 01 wasn't even intended for combat? Then, if I faced an attack from the Mist Rock Titan, I wouldn't know what to use to cause it damage. On one side were the infinite possibilities of the future. On the other was an imminent survival crisis. My gaze remained locked on the Barret in my personal space. At exactly 12 o'clock midnight, the talent refreshed. I took a deep breath and finally made my final choice. With a thought, I dragged the Barrett M82A1 into the main offering slot and dragged the SVD Precision Marksman Rifle and VSS Suppressed Sniper Rifle I had previously opened into the secondary offering slots. Dang, do you choose the Barrett M82A1 Anti-Material Sniper Rifle as the main offering and the SVD Precision Marksman Rifle and VSS Suppressed Sniper Rifle as secondary offerings for fusion and enhancement? Confirm. Ding. Talent successfully used. Promoted to Tier 3. Obtained. Heaven's Punishment Vehicle-Mounted Electromagnetic Railgun, Red Quality. The moment I saw the equipment promoted to Tier 3, a flash of excitement crossed my heart, but it was immediately replaced by deeper disappointment. Too bad, it didn't reach Eternal Quality. I had already figured out that the gap between Red Quality and Eternal Quality was never just a matter of quantity. I suppressed that fleeting emotion and looked down to check the detailed attributes of the Heaven's Punishment Vehicle-Mounted Electromagnetic Railgun. Heaven's Punishment Vehicle-Mounted Electromagnetic Railgun, Red Quality Vehicle Item. Heavy Vehicle-Mounted Electromagnetic Railgun. Requires heavy vehicle energy to drive. Effective range 30,000 meters. Projectile muzzle velocity exceeds 4,500 meters/second. Capable of penetrating 800 millimeters thick homogeneous steel armor at a distance of 10,000 meters. Upon hitting a target, it produces a violent explosion and high-temperature melting effect, accompanied by large-scale shockwaves and metal spatter damage, possessing destructive capabilities against fortifications, armored clusters, and low-altitude targets. Can be linked with vehicle radar and satellite positioning, equipped with an intelligent fire control system, capable of automatic locking. Firing cooldown 90 seconds. Ammunition capacity 24 rounds. Installation requirement. Level 4 vehicle or higher. Requires orange quality or higher vehicle energy. Note: one of the pinnacle creations of human industrial civilization. Looking at the equipment attribute panel that popped up, my fingertips tightened slightly. A 30-kilometer effective range, a muzzle velocity of 4,500 meters/second, and the ability to penetrate 800 millimeters of homogeneous steel armor within 10 kilometers. Each of these cold numbers represented a terrifying power capable of tearing through steel. Even the Mist Rock Titan I encountered earlier, with its 2.5-meter thick native rock armor that could mitigate 95% of thermal weapon damage, could not possibly be indestructible in the face of such penetration. At least I finally have a trump card to go toe-to-toe with it. I exhaled softly, suppressing the excitement surging in my heart. Without any hesitation, I made a thought and chose to install it. Commander, a heavy vehicle-mounted weapon, Heaven's Punishment, electromagnetic railgun has been detected, and system adaptation and hardware installation are in progress. Xiaoxi's voice sounded steady. Commander, a Level 5 vehicle only supports the simultaneous mounting of 2 vehicle weapon systems. After installation, no additional vehicle weapons can be loaded. My movements paused abruptly, and a look of astonishment appeared on my face. There's this setting? How come I never knew? Commander, this restriction is an inherent attribute of the vehicle level, Xiaoxi explained. You are currently equipped with a 30mm chain cannon. After installing Heaven's Punishment, all weapon slots will be full. Phew, that's a relief. I breathed a sigh of relief, a cold sweat breaking out on my back. I was glad I had upgraded the RV to level 5 early on. If it were still a level 4 vehicle, I would have had to choose between the autocannon and the railgun. Although the 30mm chain cannon was only orange quality, its unique infinite ammunition attribute was irreplaceable when clearing out mobs and suppressing clustered targets. I was certain that if the infinite ammunition feature were removed, this cannon would be worth at most gold quality. The attention of Lin Shi and the others was instantly drawn to this conversation, and they gathered around the center console screen. What weapon slots, boss? Su Kurson leaned over, full of curiosity. And what is Heaven's Punishment? Did you upgrade our RV again? I ignored Su Kurson and looked at the image on the center console screen. At this moment, on the roof of the RV, a silver-gray electromagnetic railgun with sharp lines was sitting quietly between the 30mm chain cannon and the global stealth reconnaissance drone. The barrel was long and thick, its surface shimmering with a cold metallic luster. Just looking at it made one shudder. Lin Yu's eyes widened, and she immediately began checking the RV's accessory items. "Commander, installation complete." Xiaoxi's voice sounded again. "The Heaven's Punishment electromagnetic railgun has been connected to the fire control system and can be linked with the all-knowing eye and global scanning radar. Each electromagnetic projectile fired will consume 1% of the stellar core fusion reactor's energy. Current ammunition is 24 rounds. Cooldown is 90 seconds. It consumes energy again." My face fell instantly, and I rubbed my temples with a headache. This was just adding insult to injury. For those 5 gold supply crates yesterday, 25% of the stellar core fusion reactor's energy had already been consumed. If I fired all 24 rounds of the railgun, half of the energy would be gone instantly, plus the 5% energy consumption of the Apocalypse Matrix. This newly replaced red-quality stellar core fusion reactor might not last a week before it was scrapped. However, before my complaints could even be voiced, an indescribable sense of immense oppression swept over my entire body like a cold tide. My heart contracted violently, as if gripped by an invisible giant hand, making even breathing difficult. This feeling was 100 times stronger than at any point today. "Xiaoxi, deploy the drone immediately and see if there's any situation around." I stood up abruptly and shouted sternly. "Commander, current vehicle speed is 100 kilometers per hour. The drone cannot maintain synchronization. Deployment is not recommended." As soon as Xiaoxi finished speaking, her tone became urgent. "Warning. Supergiant biological signal detected. Distance 1,000 meters. Approaching. Target confirmed. Mist Rock Titan." What? The faces of everyone in the RV turned pale instantly. "Xiaoxi, evade with everything you've got. All of you stay in the car. Do not come out." I roared, pulled open the side door, and jumped out. The moment my body left the RV, I had a thought. In an instant, a 3-meter-tall black mecha appeared out of thin air and landed steadily on the highway. I controlled the mecha, didn't stop for a second, turned sharply, and sprinted toward the Mist Rock Titan. I had to lure the Mist Rock Titan away. This was the Mist Highway. Once the shockwave of the battle knocked the RV off the road, the system would directly judge the vehicle as destroyed. At that point, all of us would die without a burial place. Thick black fog shrouded the surroundings like ink, with visibility less than a meter. I couldn't see anything and could only rely on my hearing to capture the movements coming from deep within the mist. Thump, thump, thump. The dull, thunderous footsteps approached from afar. Every time it landed, the earth shook violently. The highway beneath my feet began to show dense cracks, and gravel and dust were constantly shaken up from the ground. I held my breath and listened. I could clearly distinguish that the footsteps were getting closer and heavier. Suddenly, a sharp sound of breaking air came from above. "It's here." My pupils constricted, and I exerted force with my legs, the mecha sweeping sideways like an arrow from a bow. Boom! A boulder the size of an RV, carrying a whistling wind, smashed heavily into the spot where I had just been standing. The hard asphalt road was instantly smashed into a large pit. Gravel splashed in all directions, hitting the mecha's armor with a crackling sound. I didn't hesitate at all, using the momentum of the sweep to turn sharply and pull out the armor-piercing Tang Dao that had been with me for a long time from my personal space. I controlled the mecha, my legs kicking off the ground with massive force. The 3-meter-tall black mecha, like a taut bowstring suddenly released, leaped over 100 meters into the air and pounced toward the direction of the dull footsteps. At the highest point of the jump, I still couldn't see anything. The thick black fog was like solidified ink, blocking all sight. Even things close at hand were only blurred light and shadow. But I could clearly feel a massive silhouette that blotted out the sky, standing in the void in front of me like a black mountain rising from the ground, pressing down so hard one couldn't breathe. The silhouette turned slowly, carrying an ancient and cold malice, searching for the tiny existence that had just disturbed it. Now, relying on my precise prediction of the footsteps, I gripped the armor-piercing Tang Dao with both hands, poured all my strength into the blade, and slashed fiercely at the lowest part of the silhouette, the knee joint. Clang! The ear-piercing sound of metal clashing was deafening, and sparks exploded in the black fog like fleeting fireflies. The blade of the Tang Dao embedded deeply into the gap of the rock armor, but it only went in less than 10 centimeters. For this 80-meter-tall behemoth, this bit of damage didn't even count as a scratch. The Mist Rock Titan let out a low roar. The sound didn't come from a throat, but was a dull rumble produced by rock rubbing against rock. Its massive foot lifted, carrying a whistling wind pressure, and stomped down fiercely toward me in midair. The wind pressure hit my face. Even through the eternal grade mecha armor, I could feel the power capable of crushing steel. I didn't dare to take it head-on, pulled out the Tang Dao, and used the rebound force of the blade to perform a thrilling roll in the air, narrowly avoiding the fatal stomp. Boom! The massive foot landed, and the entire ground collapsed. The hard asphalt road shattered like a biscuit, and countless gravel fragments were blown away by the shockwave, hitting the mecha's armor with a crackling sound. I landed on the ground, staggering back a few steps. I looked down at the Tang Dao in my hand, and by the light of the sparks from earlier, I could clearly see a distinct notch on the blade. Its defense is truly monstrous. I gritted my teeth, knowing full well that with just this Tang Dao, there was no way I could kill the Mist Rock Titan. I didn't rush into another reckless attack. Instead, I began to circle the Mist Rock Titan constantly. I deliberately stomped the mecha's feet heavily against the ground to create clear, rhythmic thuds, drawing the Titan's attention and luring it step by step away from the RV. Thud, thud, thud. The Mist Rock Titan was thoroughly enraged. It swung its massive stone arms repeatedly, hurling boulders the size of millstones, or even the RV itself, with every step it took, causing the earth to tremble violently. The entire battlefield turned into a purgatory of flying debris and swirling dust, while I moved like a bolt of black lightning, weaving nimbly through the barrage of stone rain. Every so often, I would charge in to slash at the gaps in the Titan's joints with my Tang Dao. My movements grew faster and more precise, each strike landing perfectly on the weakest points of its rock armor. But every collision took a toll on the blade. The nicks grew more numerous and deeper, and the once chilling edge was now pitted and scarred. I don't know how much time had passed when, once again using the cover of a falling boulder, I circled behind the Titan and swung my blade at its ankle joint. Snap! A crisp, fracturing sound pierced through the deafening roar of the battlefield. The armor-piercing Tang Dao, which had accompanied me through countless battles, finally reached its limit and snapped in two. Half the blade spun away into the air. In that very instant, a boulder the size of a human head whistled through the air and slammed squarely into the chest of my mecha. Boom! The massive impact hit like a sledgehammer. I was sent flying along with my mecha, crashing heavily onto the ground dozens of meters away. The eternal grade armor remained unscathed, but the terrifying shockwave transmitted through the frame left my head spinning. The Mist Rock Titan took heavy, deliberate steps toward me. Its massive shadow engulfed me, and the cold scent of rock washed over me. The aura of death flooded in like a tide. It raised its enormous foot, ready to crush me. Just at this critical, life-or-death moment, a flash of inspiration struck my mind. The Heaven's Punishment. The electromagnetic railgun. I shook my head violently to clear the dizziness and looked toward the RV. The RV's radar had a detection range of only 1,000 meters. As long as I lured the Mist Rock Titan within that range, Xiaoxi could lock onto the target automatically. Do or die. I scrambled up from the ground and charged at the Mist Rock Titan once more. I circled behind it, gathered all my strength, clenched the mecha's iron fist, and slammed it hard into the gap in its spine. This punch ignited the final embers of the Mist Rock Titan's fury. It let out a deafening roar that shook the very earth. It spun around, its massive head turning toward me, and began to pursue me with devastating, heavy strides. I didn't dare hesitate for a second. I turned and ran, pushing the Titan's fury mecha to its absolute speed limit as I sprinted toward the RV. 100 meters, 500 meters, 800 meters. The moment I crossed into the 1,000-meter detection range of the RV, a ghostly blue arc of electricity flashed across the roof of the RV, illuminating the surrounding 10 meters. Then, a dull, heavy boom, unlike any gunpowder weapon, shattered the silence of the fog. The sound was low and resonant, like thunder from the heavens, making the very air hum. A crimson electromagnetic projectile, trailing a long plume of fire, streaked through the night like a meteor, instantly piercing the thick black fog and striking the mist rock titan's head with pinpoint accuracy. Boom! A violent explosion erupted. The intense heat of the melting effect instantly turned the hard granite into molten lava. The shockwave sent countless burning stone fragments flying, and the air itself warped and twisted from the heat. The mist rock titan's movements came to an abrupt halt. Although I couldn't see the situation clearly from a distance, I could distinctly feel that the massive foot chasing me had stopped in midair. The tremors in the ground also subsided significantly. This is my chance. A surge of joy filled me. I immediately turned and charged at full speed toward the location of the titan's head, which I had sensed earlier. The closer I got, the more intense the heat became. When I reached the titan's feet, I noticed it was standing motionless. I jumped up, and as I landed on the mist rock titan's shoulder, I finally saw the scene before me. A crater over 3 meters in diameter had been blown into the titan's head, and red lava was slowly flowing down the walls of the pit. But what made my expression change drastically was that the shattered rock fragments were actually gathering back toward the crater at a visible speed. The damaged head was slowly repairing itself. Damn it, it can still recover. I immediately opened the team channel. While maneuvering the mecha to smash its iron fist into the titan's healing head, I roared, "Lin Shi, tell Xiao Shi to keep firing. Aim for the same spot." Big Brother Wu Di. Lin Shi's anxious voice came through the channel. Xiao Shi says the Heaven's Punishment electromagnetic railgun has a 90-second cooldown. If we force continuous fire, it will burn out the superconducting magnetic cage and cause irreversible, permanent damage. I slammed a fist into the lava. The scalding liquid splashed onto my mecha's armor with a sizzling sound. But my attacks couldn't keep up with the Titan's recovery speed. Seeing the crater about to be filled again, I gritted my teeth and said decisively, "Forget it. Fire at full speed in 2 seconds." With that, I leaped backward, jumping out of the Titan's attack range. The next second, a series of dull, heavy booms echoed from the direction of the RV. Boom, boom, boom. One crimson meteor after another streaked through the black fog, hitting the exact same spot on the mist rock titan's head. The roar of the electromagnetic cannon echoed in the air, making my eardrums ache. Waves of scorching heat hit me one after another, clearing away much of the surrounding black fog. I stood in the distance, watching the sky dyed red by the firelight. I don't know how long it lasted, but the firing finally stopped. Lin Shi's voice, filled with surprise and trembling, came through the channel. "Big Brother Wu Di. Xiao Shi says, the mist rock titan's biological signal has completely vanished. It's dead." My heart, which had been hanging by a thread, finally settled. I let out a long breath. Just then, a heaven-shaking roar erupted from within the black fog. The sound was louder than any previous explosion, as if an entire mountain had collapsed. I immediately maneuvered the mecha toward the source of the sound. When I arrived, I saw only a scene of utter devastation. The mist rock titan's massive, 80-meter-tall body had completely collapsed onto the highway. I followed the titan's torso until I reached its head. The head was gone, leaving only a bare neck, and dark red lava was still flowing from the stump, this time with no signs of healing. "What's going on?" I frowned, feeling puzzled. "No system notification, and it hasn't disappeared. Did I get nothing from this?" Just as I reached out to see if I could salvage anything, the massive rock mountain suddenly began to turn transparent. Countless points of light drifted out from its body, merging into the surrounding black fog. Within seconds, the 8,000-ton behemoth vanished into thin air. In its place lay a pitch-black supply crate with flowing patterns on its surface, resting quietly at my feet. I bent down, picked up the special supply crate, and stored it in my personal space. After orienting myself, I walked quickly toward the RV. Once I was within 10 meters of the RV, I deactivated the Titan's fury. I saw the 4 women standing by the door, peering in my direction. Lin Yu was the first to rush over, stumbling into my arms and bursting into tears. "Big Brother Wu Di. Woo, you scared me to death just now. I was so worried about you." The young girl's body was shaking violently, and her tears soaked my collar. Lin Shi, Su Wanwan, and Su Kursen followed, gathering around me. Su Kursen looked at me, swallowed hard, and her voice trembled. Boss, did you really fight that monster? Are you even human? I patted Lin Yu's back gently, soothing her trembling frame. I looked up at Lin Shi and Su Wanwan, whose eyes were filled with worry. My voice was weary but exceptionally firm. I'm fine. I looked back toward the depths of the still-churning black fog, my eyes deep and thoughtful. It's over. Let's go inside. At this moment, the heavy sense of oppression that had lingered all day had completely vanished. I knew we should be safe for the night. Lin Yu finally calmed down and stepped out of my arms, her face flushing red, but she kept a tight grip on my arm, refusing to let go. Su Kursen leaned in, winking, and said, Xiao Yu, it's my turn. I want a princess carry from the boss too. I was so scared my legs went soft. I can't walk. Although Lin Yu's face was bright red, she didn't let go at all. Instead, she hugged my arm even tighter. Stop joking around. Let's go in. I shook my head helplessly, pulled Lin Yu along, and led the way onto the RV. As soon as we entered the cabin, Xiaoxi's voice rang out. This time, there was a clear note of concern in her tone. Commander, congratulations on successfully killing the Mist Rock Titan. I paused for a moment, then smiled. Xiaoxi, you're becoming more and more like a real person. Thank you for the compliment, Commander. Xiaoxi's voice seemed to carry a hint of a smile. Commander, next time you can grant me operational authority over the Titan's Fury Mecha. Within the radar range, I can maintain real-time voice communication with you and provide battlefield data analysis and tactical suggestions. I was stunned again, then nodded. All right, let's not talk about that for now. Commander, do you wish to continue moving forward? No, Xiaoxi. I shook my head. Let's stop here for today. Understood, Commander. Afterward, I took the pitch-black supply crate with the patterned surface out of my personal space, placed it on the coffee table, and looked at Lin Shi. This is what we got. You open it. Boss. Su Kursen immediately leaned in, but before she could finish, she saw my look. She immediately shrank her neck and raised her hands. I'm fine. I'll just watch. No talking, no talking. Lin Yu giggled and winked at Su Kursen. Su Kursen leaned over to Lin Yu, wrapped her arms around her neck, kissed her cheek, and smirked. If the boss won't enjoy it, then I will, hee. Lin Yu's face turned bright red as she tried to push Su Kursen away, and the two started horsing around. Xiao Yu. Lin Shi shook her head helplessly and called out softly. Got it, sister. Lin Yu immediately stopped, stuck out her tongue, and skillfully reached out to apply talent amplification to Lin Shi. Lin Shi took a deep breath and reached out to gently open the pitch-black, patterned supply crate. When she saw what was inside, her pupils constricted, and a look of surprise appeared on her face. She immediately displayed the attributes of all the items we had obtained for everyone to see. Earth Core, special item, not a condensation of the Mist Rock Titan's own power, but the Earth Mother Core that the Titan spent its entire life absorbing from the deepest parts of the crust and nurturing with its life essence for 1,000 years. It contains the purest power of the Earth, capable of transforming barren soil, catalyzing mineral crystals, nourishing all living things, and bringing life back to dead lands. Earth Armor Vehicle Symbiosis Module, Orange Quality Vehicle Item, a dedicated defensive module crafted by extracting the energy core of the Mist Rock Titan's native rock armor. It covers the entire vehicle in a dense rock armor of the same material as the Titan's, providing extremely strong protection against physical impact, explosive shrapnel, and energy burns. It offers high damage reduction against both physical and energy attacks. The rock armor automatically absorbs surrounding rock and soil to self-repair. As long as it isn't completely destroyed, it can recover in a short time. Armor recovery increases vehicle energy consumption. Installation requirement, level 6 or higher vehicle. Vehicle Upgrade Book, special item can be used to directly increase the vehicle level by 1. Limited to vehicles level 6 and below. Looking at the three items, I frowned slightly. With the world-shattering power of the Mist Rock Titan, how could it only drop one orange quality item? Could this seemingly plain Earth core be the biggest prize? I pondered it for a long time, but couldn't figure out the reason, so I simply shook my head and stopped thinking about it. Regardless, Once these items were in my hands and enhanced by the furnace of all things, they wouldn't be bad. Sister, what does this earth core mean? It doesn't seem useful. Lin Yu leaned over, pointing at the text on the panel curiously. It can't be used as a weapon, nor as energy. Xiao Yu, we don't need to worry about such brainy stuff. Su Kursin waved her hand dismissively, acting as if it were obvious. Just leave it to the boss. Whatever we need, he can just brush it out. The boss is basically a walking cheat code. Whatever he wants, he just clicks, and it's there. By now, Su Kursin had completely pegged me as a game NPC with GM privileges, firmly believing that if I wanted something, there was nothing I couldn't produce. I ignored her nonsense, stored all 3 items in my personal space, stood up, and said, "All right, let's all get some rest. Tomorrow is the last day of the fog zone. Who knows what we'll encounter?" Big Brother Wu Di, I'll stay here with you. Lin Yu immediately raised her hand, looking at me. I nodded without objection. It didn't matter who kept watch. Seeing this, Lin Shi and Su Wanwan didn't say anything else. They tidied up the coffee table and walked back to the bedroom on tiptoe. Su Kursin didn't forget to make a face at me before slipping inside. The RV fell silent. I sat in the driver's seat, tapping my fingers on the steering wheel, replaying the battle with the mist rock titan in my mind. The feeling of helplessness when facing that behemoth was still clearly branded on my heart. If the Titan's Fury mecha could unlock its full weapon system, I wouldn't have been in such a sorry state today, I muttered to myself. I didn't even have a decent weapon, just a broken Tang Dao to fight with. I then focused my mind and opened my personal panel. Name, Wu Di. Physique, 1668. Spirit, 30. Abilities, Shooting Mastery, Steel Body. Passive, Combat Grandmaster. Note: mental control is insufficient to fully command current physical strength. After reading it, I felt very frustrated. My strength was entirely limited by this pathetic 30 points of spirit, making it impossible to exert the full power of my body. Not to mention the Titan's Fury, an eternal grade mecha that could theoretically reach sublight speeds. I probably couldn't even exert 1/10,000th of its potential. Especially today, when facing the Mist Rock Titan, that feeling of having power but being unable to use it made me feel incredibly stifled. So how exactly do I increase my spirit? I looked at the churning black fog outside the window, filled with doubt. This question had plagued me from the start, but the system had never given any hints. My gaze then fell on the Earth Armor Vehicle Symbiosis module in my personal space, focusing specifically on the installation requirement, level 6 or higher vehicle. Why is the installation requirement so high? I had a whole RV full of orange quality items, and none of them had such strict requirements. Even the red quality primordial construct armor on my car only required a level 4 vehicle. Suddenly, a flash of inspiration crossed my mind. Could it be that because all my items were obtained through talent enhancement, their installation requirements are so low? Thinking of this, a wave of fear washed over me. If that were true, then today, my talent had truly saved my life. Otherwise, the Heaven's Punishment electromagnetic railgun I just obtained might have required a level 7 vehicle, meaning I wouldn't have been able to install it, let alone kill the Mist Rock Titan. Thank goodness, thank goodness. I suppressed the lingering relief, and without hesitation, I focused my mind and chose to use the Vehicle Upgrade book. Ding! Vehicle Upgrade book used successfully. Vehicle level increased to 6. As the system notification faded, the RV showed no obvious changes. There were no flashing lights or structural deformations. As expected, just like before, no changes. I immediately opened the vehicle interface to check. Vehicle, level 6 vehicle, top speed, 300 kilometers per hour. Vehicle accessories/items, Lucky Pendant Gold, HX, 9-ion thruster, red, ceramic composite bulletproof glass, gold, Titan, MK4 composite chassis, gold, stellar core fusion reactor, red, smart constant temperature refrigeration box, purple, atmospheric water collection unit, orange, vehicle global scanning radar, gold, 30mm chain autocannon, orange, apocalypse matrix, eternal, Titan armor piercing ram, purple, multispectral penetrating illumination unit, purple, composite armor, coating, gold, global stealth reconnaissance drone, purple, holographic disguise, gold, ancient constructor. Imperial divine armor, red, matrix stability tracks, gold, supercore power module, orange, anti-gravity suspension stability field generator, orange, holographic cinema projection module, purple, omnidimensional perception array, red, solid-state lithium iron phosphate integrated stack, gold, all-knowing eye, eternal, heaven's punishment vehicle-mounted electromagnetic. Railgun red. Looking at the long, dense list of items, I couldn't help but sigh. The speed at which I obtained new items was indeed slowing down, but the quality of each one was incomparable to the previous ones. Ever since my talent was promoted, basically all new items and equipment started at red quality. I used to regret that the daily talent enhancement limit was too low, but looking at the eternal grade items and the Unit 0, one of the heavy hammer Xian armor legion in my hands, I couldn't help but feel lucky. Thank goodness my talent was promoted. Suddenly, I asked, Xiaoxi, what's the status of the Heaven's Punishment electromagnetic railgun? Commander, due to continuous overload firing, the Heaven's Punishment has suffered irreversible damage to its superconducting magnetic cage and is currently in a semi-destroyed state. It is limited to a maximum of 3 final safe shots. Also, due to the 13 continuous shots, the stellar core fusion reactor has 61% energy remaining. Xiaoxi's voice replied steadily. Hearing this, my heart tightened into a knot, and I felt a sharp pang of regret. The red-grade electromagnetic railgun I had just acquired was essentially scrap metal less than an hour after I got it. What was even more distressing was that the energy problem I had finally solved was now staring me in the face once again. At least there's a silver lining. The Heaven's Punishment was synthesized using a few purple-grade weapons. Not a total loss, not a loss at all, I muttered, trying to console myself. Just as I finished tallying the day's gains and losses, I noticed Lin Yu, sitting in the passenger seat, fidgeting restlessly and sneaking glances at me every now and then. I rubbed my temples, feeling a headache coming on. This girl was really starting to be led astray by Su Kursen. Go to sleep now. We don't know what we'll be facing tomorrow. Oh, Lin Yu hesitated for a moment, then nodded obediently and leaned back against the passenger seat. Before long, her steady breathing filled the cabin. I watched her sleeping profile, a faint smile tugging at the corners of my mouth, before turning my gaze back to the endless black fog outside the window. The night passed in silence. The next morning, at 5:58 a.m., everyone had finished washing up and eating breakfast. I sat in the driver's seat, staring through the window at the churning black fog 10 meters away, my eyes deep and contemplative. The final day, I said softly. What will today bring? Xiaoxi, maintain a speed of 120 kilometers per hour. Understood, Commander. The RV started slowly and began to move steadily along the mist highway. However, the very moment the clock struck 6 a.m., 3 striking announcements popped up on everyone's system interface simultaneously. Regional announcement. The disaster-grade creature, Mist Rock Titan, has been killed. The Apocalypse Disaster event has ended. Regional announcement. The event has been changed to Pilgrim's Elegy. Event rules. An eternal lighthouse will be generated in the depths of the mist. Please reach the location of the lighthouse within 24 hours. Those who fail to arrive on time will be forcibly eliminated by the system. Highway restrictions have been lifted. You may move freely. Staring at the short but heavy-hitting announcement, Lin Yu's eyes widened, and she shouted in surprise, Big Brother Wu Di. The disaster monster is that giant from last night, right? You killed the final boss. You're amazing, boss. Su Kursen jumped up excitedly and hugged Su Wanwan, who was sitting next to her. I knew there was nothing you couldn't handle. Whatever that disaster titan was, it's nothing but trash in front of you. Lin Shi and Su Wanwan exchanged glances, their eyes filled with the relief of having survived a catastrophe. Look at the communication channel. It's blowing up. Lin Yu suddenly shouted triumphantly. I opened the communication channel, where countless messages were flooding in like a tide. So what actually happened? What does disaster-grade creature mean? And what is a mist rock titan? Why do I know nothing about this? This, Pilgrim's Elegy, sounds ominous. What kind of nightmare is this now? Is it really this hard to stay alive? Does anyone know what this mist rock titan is? The name alone sounds badass, doesn't it? Do you think it's possible that yesterday's earthquake was caused by that mist rock titan thing? Did none of you notice the words has been killed? The final boss was taken out early. Could it have been a player? How could a player kill it? Do you have any idea how massive a creature would have to be to cause that kind of tremor? Even missiles might not be enough to take down a monster that big. I don't believe anyone could handle a monster like that. Could it have been that mysterious big shot at the top of the vehicle leaderboard? He's the only one with that kind of strength, right? Did you notice? The highway restrictions are lifted. Finally, no more worrying about driving off the road. Crawling at that speed for the past few days was agonizing. Holy crap, it really might be him. That guy's points have gone up by nearly 200,000 in the last 2 days. Are we even in the same world? The person in second place has less than 10,000 points, and he's already over 500,000. So what if he's awesome? We'll never meet him. Instead of obsessing over others, we should be thinking about how to survive today. Where's the lighthouse? Has anyone seen the lighthouse? This damn broken game. The announcements are getting more and more vague. I looked at the chaotic discussions in the channel, a faint smile playing on my lips. They would never guess that the disaster-grade monster, the Mist Rock Titan, had already had its skull shattered by me and Xiaoxi a few hours ago. But soon, my smile faded, and my brows furrowed tightly. The eternal lighthouse in the depths of the mist and the Pilgrim's Elegy. What did these actually mean? What was waiting for us there? Countless questions swirled in my mind. Xiaoxi, full speed ahead. Scan in all directions and search for the signal of the eternal lighthouse, I said in a low voice. Understood, Commander. Switching to maximum speed of 300 kilometers per hour. Following Xiaoxi's steady voice, the RV shot through the black fog like an arrow released from a bow, speeding along the straight highway. Inside the cabin, Linyu rested her chin on her hand, looking curious. Big sister, what kind of place is this eternal lighthouse? Could it be a safe zone prepared by the system? Maybe we can go shopping again like before. There's no such thing as a free lunch. She shook her head, her brows slightly furrowed. This game never gives us anything for free. Pilgrim's Elegy, the name itself sounds wrong. An elegy is always sung for the dead. Su Wanwan nodded gently and added, and the system only said we have to arrive within 24 hours. It didn't say what would happen afterward. It didn't say what's inside the lighthouse, whether there are monsters or if there are traps. Oh, why are you guys overthinking it? Su Kursin waved her hand dismissively and patted her chest. With the boss here, whatever ghosts or monsters there are, we'll just crush them all. Besides, we're the strongest team in the whole game now. The dangers others face are nothing to us. I listened to their discussion without interrupting. My gaze pierced through the window, looking out into the boundless black fog. Su Kursin was right. We did possess strength far beyond other survivors. But the more I thought about it, the stronger my unease became. All right, stop discussing it, I said, interrupting them. Keep an eye on the regional channel and see if any other players find news about the lighthouse. If there's anything unusual, tell me immediately. I turned my head and spoke into the air. Xiaoxi, notify me if there's any situation. Understood, Commander. The RV fell silent. I sat in the driver's seat, scanning the road 10 meters ahead, not daring to let my guard down for a second. The RV had been driving steadily for only 20 minutes when Xiaoxi's voice suddenly rang out. Commander, abnormal light fluctuations detected. Insufficient data to parse the source. Shall I activate the apocalypse matrix for deep analysis? Estimated energy consumption, 5%. My movements froze, and my brows instantly knitted together. Energy. It was always energy. I gritted my teeth, memories of every previous, final day flashing through my mind. The system never showed mercy on the last day. Xiaoxi, initiate analysis, I said firmly. Understood, Commander. Initiating deep analysis with the apocalypse matrix. Analysis complete. Source of abnormal light fluctuations, northeast direction. Reaching this direction requires driving off the current highway surface. Adjust course and head northeast, I said without a moment's hesitation. Understood, Commander. Departing from the highway. Hearing this, the others immediately gathered around, leaning against the windows to look outside with curiosity. Boss, are you carving out a shortcut for us? Su Kursin said excitedly. Everyone else is still wandering around on the highway, and we're taking a shortcut. No sooner had she finished speaking than the RV made a sharp left turn, veering off the smooth asphalt and onto a bumpy, rugged wasteland. The next second, everyone gasped. The world outside the highway was far more terrifying than they had imagined. The black fog still shrouded everything, and the visibility inside the RV was only about 5 meters. Yet, within those 5 meters, there were obstacles everywhere. Waist-high mounds of dirt stood abruptly, bottomless black pits gaped open, and broken tree trunks and discarded steel bars were scattered haphazardly. A single mistake would cause the RV to flip or fall into a deep pit. However, Xiaoxi's control was precise to the extreme. The RV wove nimbly through this land of death at a staggering speed of 300 kilometers per hour. The cabin remained as steady as if it were driving on a highway. I watched the terrain data flashing across the center console screen, feeling a secret sense of shock. Without Xiaoxi, let alone moving at 300 kilometers per hour, even crawling at 30 kilometers per hour would have been incredibly difficult. Less than an hour later, Lin Yu pointed ahead and shouted in surprise, "Big Brother Wu Di! Look! Light! There's light ahead!" Everyone looked in the direction she pointed, and in the distant depths of the black fog, a soft beam of white light pierced through the layers of mist. "We finally found it," Su Kerson cheered, pumping her fist. But Lin Shi's brows furrowed even deeper. She looked at me, her tone worried. "Big Brother Wu Di, there haven't been any crises this time. It's too smooth, it's strange. Could there be something even more terrifying waiting for us ahead?" Shi, don't worry so much." Su Kerson patted her shoulder dismissively. "Look at this shortcut the boss chose. It's full of bumps and pits. That in itself is a crisis. For anyone else, their vehicle would have been destroyed long ago. It's only because we have Xiaoxi that we can get through this so easily." Su Kerson's words struck me like a bolt of lightning. I suddenly looked up, my eyes brightening. That was it. I had almost forgotten. The journey had indeed seemed smooth, without any monsters or traps. But this smoothness was entirely due to Xiaoxi being an eternal-grade artificial intelligence. For other ordinary survivors, this wasteland, which appeared to have no monsters, was a giant graveyard. They didn't have the precise predictions of the apocalypse matrix or the stability of anti-gravity suspension. If they dared to leave the highway, no one knew if they would ever reach the final destination. This wasn't an easy journey at all. It was a screening that used life as a wager. Only survivors with true strength could cross this wasteland of death and reach the eternal lighthouse. Those who lacked the strength would only fall forever on the road of pilgrimage. Pilgrim's Elegy. I whispered the name, a chill running down my spine. Is that all it means? The RV continued toward the beam of white light. Another 20 minutes passed, and the surrounding mist began to thin out. "Commander, I detect a continuous decrease in mist density. Visibility is gradually expanding," Xiaoxi's voice chimed in. Sure enough, the visibility, which had been only 10 meters, slowly expanded to 20, 50, and then 100 meters. This was the first time since entering this world that we had such clear visibility. Everyone held their breath, looking at the world outside the window. What greeted them was a boundless, desolate land. The cracked earth was covered in crisscrossing gullies like a tortoise shell, and there wasn't even a trace of living things. The whole world was terrifyingly quiet. We continued for about another 10 minutes. The eternal lighthouse finally appeared in its entirety before our eyes. It was a snow-white tower, over 100 meters tall. The tower was built from an unknown white stone, its surface as smooth as a mirror, without a single crack. It didn't have any lamps lit, yet it emitted a soft, holy white light from within, completely dispelling the surrounding mist and creating a massive, circular safe zone. The tower was covered in dense, intricate reliefs. These reliefs depicted countless ragged figures carrying heavy luggage, struggling toward the same direction. Some had fallen on the road, turning into dry bones. Others were supporting each other as they moved forward. Still others reached out their hands, as if begging for help from the distant lighthouse. At the top of the reliefs was the summit of the tower. There was no light there, only a massive, shattered Star Trek compass. The compass needle had long since broken, and the scattered markings were embedded in the tower, as if recording some long-forgotten coordinate. Below the compass, a line of blurred text was carved, but it was too far away to read clearly. The entire lighthouse stood silently on the wasteland, without any sound or movement. The RV slowed down gradually and finally stopped exactly 1 kilometer away from the lighthouse, at the edge of the white light. "Let's stop here," I said, my gaze fixed on the distant lighthouse. "We're in no rush to go over." "Why, Big Brother Wu-Di?" Lin Yu asked, confused, leaning against the window with her neck stretched out. "Can't we just go in and see what's going on?" "Xiao Yu, it's too quiet here." Lin Shi shook her head and said softly. "It's unnaturally quiet. The system wouldn't let us clear the level so easily. Besides, it's only 8:47 a.m. There are still 19 full hours left before the 24-hour limit." Su Wanwan nodded as well. "And we're the only team here. Nothing good has ever happened on the final day before. Do you think we have to wait for everyone to arrive before we can enter?" Su Kurson blinked, guessing. "Boss, what do you think?" I didn't speak, my gaze sweeping across the clearing illuminated by the white light. Just as they said, it was too quiet here. Not just quiet, but devoid of any danger, unlike anything we had encountered before. Xiao Shi, launch the drone and carefully scout the area within 1 kilometer of the lighthouse, I ordered. Do not approach the lighthouse itself. Understood, Commander. Drone launched, performing full area scan. The real-time footage from the drone immediately appeared on the center console screen. Everyone gathered around, eyes glued to the screen, afraid to miss a single detail. The drone circled within the 1 kilometer radius, scanning every inch of land. But unexpectedly, nothing was found. "Commander, scan complete. No abnormal signals detected within the 1 kilometer radius," Xiao Shi's voice announced. The cabin fell silent. Everyone looked at me, waiting for me to make the final decision. "Xiao Shi, can you perform a deep analysis of this unknown situation?" I asked. "Commander, the situation is unknown, and there are too many variables. Deep analysis is not recommended. Energy consumption cannot be estimated." Hearing this, I completely abandoned the idea. The stellar core fusion reactor only had 56% energy left. If any special situation arose later, I couldn't afford any unnecessary consumption. "We'll wait here," I said, looking at Lin Shi and the others, my tone calm but firm. "We'll wait 1 kilometer away and see what happens next. If there's any change, we'll have enough time to react." No one raised an objection. Having experienced so many life and death crises, everyone had become accustomed to following my arrangements. Su Wanwan looked at me and said softly, "Big Brother Wu-Di, you should rest for a while. I'll call you if anything happens." "Yeah, boss, go sleep in the bedroom for a bit." Su Kurson chimed in immediately, winking. "I'm telling you, the bed in the bedroom is so comfy. Oh, and why don't you let Shishi keep you company? Shishi is so soft." I ignored Su Kurson's nonsense, thought for a moment, and nodded. "All right, if anything happens, call me immediately." With that, I stood up and entered the domain space. In the domain space, it was always a bright, sunny day. The sky was as blue as a wash, and white clouds drifted lazily. Not far away, the vegetable patch that Lin Shi and the others had cultivated was growing well, the green vegetables shimmering in the sunlight. I knew the sky and the sunlight were fake. But even so, for the first time, my tightly wound nerves finally relaxed completely. I walked over to the patch of land where clothes were laid out, presumably where Lin Shi and the others usually rested. I lay down slowly, looking at the blue sky above, my mind constantly pondering. What would we encounter today? What would happen tomorrow? When would this damn game finally end? Countless questions swirled in my mind, and gradually, exhaustion washed over me like a tide. I closed my eyes and slowly drifted off to sleep. I slept exceptionally soundly. Time ticked away, second by second. 4:58 p.m. I was woken up by Lin Yu gently shaking me. "Big Brother Wu-Di, Big Brother Wu-Di, wake up. Other people have arrived outside." I opened my eyes abruptly, instantly becoming alert. I stood up and walked out of the domain space with Lin Yu. I went straight to the center console screen, where Xiao Shi had already maximized the view. On the other side of the white light zone, an SUV was parked. A man in his 30s sat in the driver's seat, poking his head out and cautiously observing his surroundings. Our RV was parked in the completely opposite direction, and the man hadn't noticed our presence at all. "Boss, what's the plan?" "We're ready," Sue Curson said from the side. I glanced at Sue Curson, who was already holding the cloud-piercing bow, then looked back at the center console screen. "Ignore him for now. Big Brother Wu Di, I'm going to make dinner," Lin Shi said, heading straight for the kitchen, with Su Wanwan following closely behind. Over the next hour, Xiaoxi's notification sound rang out repeatedly. I watched the center console screen as more and more vehicles arrived from all directions, pouring into the 1 kilometer square white light zone like a tide. They scattered in 2s and 3s in every corner, keeping a safe distance from each other, with no one willing to be the first to break this eerie calm. Lin Shi and Su Wanwan had finished dinner. We ate a simple meal, and the time reached 5:58 p.m. "Commander, there are currently 845 vehicles gathered in the white light zone, corresponding to 1,200 survivors," Xiaoxi's voice said steadily. "None of the survivors have left their vehicles, and there has been no communication or conflict." I nodded. The life and death struggles of the past half-month were enough to teach everyone caution and restraint. Without understanding the situation, no one would easily reveal their strength, let alone initiate a conflict. Just then, Su Wanwan's daily talent treasure chest refreshed on time, and at the exact moment the chest refreshed, 2 striking announcements popped up on everyone's system interface. "Ding! Congratulations to all survivors who reached the Eternal Lighthouse. Pilgrim's Elegy event cleared. Ding! All survivors have received a clearance treasure chest." Looking at the system announcement that had suddenly popped up, the cabin fell silent instantly. Even Su Wanwan, who had already reached out to open her talent treasure chest, stopped in her tracks. Everyone looked at me in unison. "Ignore it," I said directly. "Open the treasure chests first." Su Wanwan nodded, took a deep breath, and reached out to open the talent treasure chest. She immediately displayed the blueprint's attributes for everyone to see. 30mm tungsten core armor-piercing round blueprint. Purple quality applicable to all 30mm caliber vehicle-mounted autocannons. Increases armor-piercing capability and deals additional damage to armored and mechanical targets. Permanently unlocks 30mm tungsten core armor-piercing rounds upon use. Crafting requirements: metal block X2, gunpowder X2. Sister Wanwan, this is a blueprint we can actually use. And it's purple quality. Lin Yu exclaimed excitedly. "Wanwan, do you have a phobia of low firepower lately?" Sue Curson leaned in to take a look, pouting as she said, "How come every time you open something, it's either a weapon or ammunition?" I didn't say anything. With a thought, I retrieved the clearance treasure chest I had just obtained from my personal space and placed it on the coffee table, my brow furrowing slightly as I fell into deep thought. The others, who had been chattering away, immediately quieted down when they saw my expression. "Boss, what's wrong?" Sue Curson leaned toward the clearance treasure chest, examined it closely, and scratched her head. "It doesn't look strange at all. Isn't it just a normal chest?" I shook my head. "It's nothing. Lin Shi, you open it." Lin Shi nodded. Lin Yu skillfully reached out to apply her talent amplification to her. Lin Shi then gently opened the clearance treasure chest, immediately displaying all the spoils to everyone. Fuel X360, metal block X120, glass X120, plastic X120, electronic components X120, gunpowder X120, quantum primordial matter X125, mineral water X36 bottles, compressed biscuits X36 bags. Looking at the list of supplies, the doubt I had just suppressed surged back into my heart. What exactly does the system mean by this? "What's wrong, Brother Wu Di?" Lin Shi noticed my unease and asked softly, "Is there a problem with these supplies?" "The supplies are fine," I shook my head. "But this clearance is too strange. There's no safe zone, not even a single extra hint. It just gave us a chest and said nothing else." "Yeah, I think it's weird too," Lin Yu nodded, then added gloomily. "After the last 2 clearances, weren't there always safe zones and shopping areas? We have so many points. I wanted to buy a lot of things. Also, there are too many people gathered here this time." My gaze swept across the dense clusters of vehicle light dots on the center console screen. The interior of the RV went quiet instantly. Everyone realized something was wrong. "Brother Wu Di, Su Wanwan's voice was low. Are you worried that the system is guiding us to kill each other? I nodded slowly, my gaze shifting back to the snow-white lighthouse in the distance, resting on the reliefs of the pilgrims on its tower. Just then, Lin Yu suddenly shouted, Brother Wu Di, sister, look at the communication channel. It's blowing up. I immediately opened the regional chat channel, where countless messages were refreshing rapidly. Does anyone know what's going on? Why isn't there a safe zone after clearing? What clearance? I'm still struggling through the black fog. This shitty road condition, the car is moving slower than I can run. Just open the chest. It gave a lot of materials. The system is finally being generous for once. Wait, what are you guys talking about with clearances and chests? Have you already found the lighthouse? Generous my ass. I have a bad feeling about this. With so many people crowded together, something is bound to happen. Damn it, there's no safe zone this time. It might turn into chaos any minute. Protect yourselves and don't get out of your vehicles. There shouldn't be any idiots left at this point. Watch out for people trying to sneak a shot at you. No safe zone makes me nervous. But if anyone dares to mess with me, my gun isn't just for show. Everyone be careful. Don't trust anyone easily. I just saw people secretly grabbing weapons. The ones nearby are teaming up. Is anyone looking to team up? I advise you all to behave. Whoever strikes first will be the first to die. It's already hard enough to survive, and now we have to kill each other. Is anyone going inside the lighthouse to check? What's the situation now? Are we just waiting here? Can someone help me? I'm still in the black fog, and I feel like something is wrong with it. Stop talking nonsense. Isn't it better that everyone is safe and sound right now? I hope so. I really don't want to kill anyone else. Just as everyone was arguing in the communication channel, Xiaoxi's voice suddenly rang out. Commander, I have detected that the surrounding black fog is slowly shrinking toward the central lighthouse. At the current speed, it will completely cover the area in 6 hours. Hearing this, my pupils constricted. As expected, today's crisis hadn't ended at all. Xiaoxi, adjust the RV's position immediately. Keep it at the edge of the black fog and move slowly toward the center. I ordered. Don't get too far ahead, and don't let the black fog catch up. Understood, Commander. Adjusting position. The RV started slowly, moving bit by bit along the edge of the white light zone toward the lighthouse. Not long after, someone in the communication channel discovered the shrinking black fog, and panic spread instantly. Holy shit. The black fog is shrinking. Did you guys notice? Damn. I wanted to stay at the edge, but the back of my car got grazed by the black fog and a huge chunk of it was corroded. Is anyone still alive in the black fog? Speak up. Don't bother. I couldn't reach my friend just now. Those in the black fog are probably gone. Just look out for yourselves. Could it be that there are too many players left alive? Didn't it already notify us of a clearance? Why is this happening? Are they not letting us live? Are they bored of the game? Damn it. If I can't live, no one else will. I'm going to take out others right now. Run to the middle. Run to the lighthouse. It's safe around the lighthouse. Calm down. The black fog is shrinking very slowly. The open space is huge. If we all crowd into the middle, maybe it will stop at some point. Only one way to find out. Isn't this just a game shrinking the circle? Everyone head to the middle. It's definitely safe there. What do you mean? Is the system trying to have the black fog kill off the excess people? What else? Why else would it suddenly shrink the black fog? Reading the content of the communication channel, I took note of a few specific remarks. Could it really be like that? I muttered to myself, my gaze falling once again on the reliefs of the lighthouse. Those withered bones fallen on the pilgrim's path looked particularly jarring now. If that's the case, I don't need to rush, I thought to myself. Someone will surely test the truth for us very soon. In the time that followed, my RV remained at the very edge of the black fog, following it slowly toward the center. The interior of the RV was deathly silent. No one spoke. Everyone stared intently at the communication channel, waiting for what would happen next. The time reached 2025. Lin Yu said with a pale face, Brother Wu Di, look at the communication channel. I immediately looked down, and a series of chilling messages were refreshing rapidly. The killing has started. I knew someone would cause trouble. Good thing I contacted a few people nearby, and we formed a group. I just killed someone. The black fog stopped, It really stopped. Haha. Trust me, as long as we kill enough people, we'll be fine. What? Killing makes the black fog stop? Not here. I've looked around, and there are hundreds of vehicles, but no one is making a move. Aren't you worried this is a trap set by the system? Do you even understand what Pilgrim's Elegy means? It's true. I tried it too. Sorry everyone. The weak have no right to survive. Hurry and contact others nearby. Group up, and no one will dare to make a move. It'll be too late if you wait. Then what are we waiting for? Do it. If you don't kill, you die. Everyone, please stay calm. The black fog is moving so slowly, it might not necessarily be a problem. Aren't you worried about doing this? Haha. So what if I killed someone? If you're capable, come and take me out. It's over. It's getting chaotic here too. Someone save me. Looking at these messages, I felt no ripples in my heart. If killing were truly the only way to survive, I wouldn't hesitate to do it. But looking at those pilgrim reliefs on the lighthouse, I felt that things couldn't be that simple. It's too deliberate, Lin, she said with a frown. Brother Wu Di, could this also be a trap? I nodded, and just as I was about to speak, Xiaoxi's voice suddenly sounded. Commander, I have detected vehicles attacking other players. Location, 300 meters to the southeast. I immediately looked at the center console screen. I saw over a dozen vehicles, as if they had coordinated beforehand, surrounding a lone SUV in a fan shape. Immediately after, a dense volley of gunfire erupted. Bullets rained down on the vehicle, the glass shattered instantly, and the car was riddled with holes. In less than 3 minutes, the vehicle exploded violently, turning into a fireball. The others in the RV remained silent. Their expressions varied. Su Kerson gripped her cloud-piercing bow tightly, looking like she wanted to rush out. Lin, she held Lin Yu's hand. Although their expressions were grim, their eyes showed a readiness to act. Only Su Wanwan was looking at me, as if waiting for something. I looked at the scene before me, my brow furrowing tightly. Sure enough, the situation had spiraled out of control. Over the next dozen minutes, the entire white light zone turned into a living hell. The previously scattered vehicles seemed to have reached a tacit understanding, quickly gathering together to form one convoy after another. Some had a dozen vehicles, others as many as 30. They attacked and annexed each other, with gunfire and explosions echoing incessantly. Amidst this chaos, my RV remained the only one traveling alone. Soon, someone noticed us. A dozen vehicles slowly turned and drove toward my RV. Commander, I have detected 17 vehicles approaching us with clear hostile intent. Xiaoxi's voice sounded coldly. Do you wish to initiate an attack? My eyes turned cold instantly. Xiaoxi, remove the camouflage from the 30mm chain autocannon, I said, enunciating every word. Then, destroy them all. Understood, Commander. Weapon system activated. Targets locked. The next second, the holographic camouflage on the roof of the RV dissipated instantly. The pitch-black 30mm chain autocannon slowly rose, its muzzle gleaming with a cold, metallic light. Thump, 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 thump. A deafening barrage of gunfire erupted. 17 armor-piercing shells were fired instantly. Those oncoming vehicles were like paper in front of the 30mm autocannon. The shells easily pierced through the bodies and ignited the fuel tanks. One vehicle after another exploded violently, sending flames and thick smoke into the air. In less than 10 seconds, those 17 vehicles were reduced to burning scrap metal. The entire white light zone went quiet instantly. All gunfire and explosions ceased. Every player within a kilometer radius stared in shock at the direction of my RV. When they saw the menacing autocannon on the roof, everyone gasped. I looked at the burning sea of fire, then looked up at the snow-white lighthouse in the distance. Xiaoxi, open the door, I said, standing up calmly. If anyone shows hostile intent, kill them directly. You guys stay in the vehicle and don't come out. After saying this, I stepped out of the RV. With a thought, the 3-meter-tall Black Titan's Fury mecha instantly covered my entire body. The cold metallic texture enveloped me, and a heavy sense of power surged through my limbs. Remembering what Xiaoxi had said earlier, I silently attempted to activate the communication permissions for the Titan's Fury. Sure enough, Xiaoxi's voice immediately sounded in my mind. Commander, I have successfully accessed the Titan's Fury communication permissions. We can maintain real-time communication within the radar coverage. I nodded, took heavy strides, and walked slowly toward the center of the lighthouse. The sound of the mecha's footsteps was exceptionally loud on the silent wasteland. With every step, the earth seemed to tremble slightly. Everyone stared in stunned silence at the metal giant that had suddenly appeared. What is that? What is he doing? Is he going to kill us all? A mecha? Is that a fucking mecha? There's such a thing. My God. Who is he? He has cannons and a mecha. Could this guy be the big shot at the top of the vehicle leaderboard? I stopped in the center, my cold voice projecting through the mecha and echoing across the entire white light zone. Everyone, stay where you are and be quiet. If anyone attacks again, I will prioritize killing them. If you don't believe me, feel free to try. After saying this, prompted by Xiaoxi, I turned my head sharply toward the northwest. Boom! The autocannon on the roof of the RV fired again. A shell whistled through the air and accurately struck a vehicle that had just raised its muzzle. The vehicle exploded instantly, turning into a fireball. I don't want to say this a second time. My voice rang out again, carrying unquestionable authority. Everyone, gather toward the center immediately. The scene remained deathly silent for a few seconds. Then, the roar of engines erupted one after another. All the vehicles obediently turned and slowly gathered toward the lighthouse. No one dared to act rashly, and no one dared to question my orders again. The fate of those 17 vehicles, the menacing autocannon, and this metal giant that looked like a demon god had completely intimidated everyone. I watched the slow-moving stream of vehicles and nodded with satisfaction. I turned and walked back to the RV, deactivating the mecha. Boss, you were so cool. Su Kursen immediately rushed over. That mecha is just awesome. Those people must be so scared they don't even dare to breathe. Boss, when can you get me one? Yeah. Lin Yu nodded vigorously. Brother Wu Di, you were so cool when you were standing there. I smiled and didn't say anything. Xiaoxi, continue to move slowly toward the center point and stay alert. Understood, Commander. The interior of the RV gradually quieted down. Everyone leaned back in their seats, and the long wait began. Time ticked by second. The flames outside gradually died out, leaving only the soft white light emitted by the distant lighthouse to illuminate the crowded open space. Until the time reached 23:08. Commander, I have detected that the black fog has stopped shrinking. Xiaoxi's voice suddenly sounded. My tense expression finally relaxed. I looked out the window. Our RV was now less than 100 meters from the lighthouse, and this 100-meter open space was now packed tightly with vehicles. Brother Wu Di, look at the communication channel. Lin Yu pointed at the system panel. I opened the regional chat channel, where messages were refreshing slowly. The black fog stopped. It really stopped. Finally safe. Stop my ass. It's still shrinking here. It's almost touching the back of my car. It's still shrinking here too. What's going on? Didn't they say it stopped? Why did yours stop, but ours hasn't? Damn it, there aren't many people left. Good thing a ruthless guy showed up here and took out everyone who was planning to attack. You guys didn't see it. Cannons and a mecha. I seriously suspect it's the big shot from the top of the leaderboard. Do you think it's possible that the black fog is only still shrinking for those who killed people? My God. So killing doesn't just fail to save your life. It makes you die faster. Good thing I didn't make a move earlier. Otherwise I'd be done for. Good thing we didn't dare to make a move here. Otherwise there wouldn't be many of us left. To the brother who said you met the top-rank big shot, what does the top-rank car look like? Yeah, thank you so much. I almost couldn't resist making a move earlier. Seeing this, my pupils constricted slightly. Good thing, I muttered to myself. Good thing I have enough strength to control the situation. Otherwise, this place would have turned into a mess too. Then I looked up at Lin Shi and the others and said, all right, let's rest. There shouldn't be any more trouble tonight. Lin Shi and Su Wanwan nodded and went back to the bedroom. Su Kursen yawned and followed them in. Lin Yu stayed behind. She had figured out that the time I used my talent had shifted from around 1800 hours to exactly midnight. Although she didn't know why, she knew she just needed to cooperate. I lay in the driver's seat, quietly waiting for the arrival of the new day. The lighthouse outside the window emitted a soft white light, casting a faint white glow over the entire cabin. Brother Wu Di, what will happen tomorrow? Lin Yu, lying in the passenger seat, suddenly asked softly. I opened my eyes, looked at the towering lighthouse in front, and said firmly, "No matter what it is, we will definitely be the ones who survive until the end." "Yeah," Lin Yu nodded vigorously. "I believe in you, Brother Wu Di." The interior of the RV went quiet again. Midnight, 12 o'clock sharp. My talent refreshed on time. I felt a bit excited. For me, the most important thing now was to solve the problem of not being able to bring the Heavy Hammer Black Armor Legion, Unit 01, out of the domain space. I was even more curious to see what terrifying level Unit 01 would reach after being strengthened by the furnace of all things. Xiao Yu, amplify. Okay, Brother Wu Di. Lin Yu immediately reached out and applied her talent amplification to me. Wait here, call me if anything happens. I'll be out in a bit, I said to Lin Yu, then got up and entered the domain space. It was still a bright, sunny day in the domain space. In the distance, the 12-meter-tall steel giant stood silently on the ground, like a silent guardian. I took a deep breath, walked up to Unit 01, and activated the furnace of all things talent. Ding! Do you wish to select Heavy Hammer Black Armor Legion, Unit 01 as the main sacrifice, with no secondary sacrifice? Confirm. However, the next second, the system popped up a notification I had never seen before. Ding! Detected that the target is a life form with autonomous consciousness. Cannot perform strengthening fusion. I was stunned, staring blankly at the notification, and it took me several seconds to react. Life form, I muttered to myself, looking up at Unit 01. Isn't it a machine? How did it become a life form? I tried a few more times, but the result was the exact same notification. Thinking that Lin Yu's talent amplification only lasted 10 minutes, I stopped dwelling on it. My gaze turned to the Earth core and the Earth Armor Vehicle Symbiosis module in my personal space, and I hesitated for a moment. My red-quality primordial construct armor was already sufficient for now, so the Earth armor could be put aside for the time being. Forget it. Let's strengthen this first. Ding, do you choose the Earth core as the main sacrifice, with no secondary sacrifice? Ding, talent used successfully, promoted to Tier 2, obtained, World Tree Seed, special item. I looked at the attributes on the panel, a flash of disappointment crossing my mind. I had originally thought that with Lin Yu's talent amplification, I would be able to reach at least Tier 3 this time. I hadn't expected only a Tier 2 promotion. But when I read the description of the World Tree Seed, the disappointment in my eyes was instantly replaced by immense surprise. World Tree Seed, special item, contains the most primordial life force from the dawn of the universe. It is the origin of life forms. Once planted, it will be permanently bound to the current space. Its roots will extend infinitely in all directions, permeating every inch of soil and air. It purifies all negative existences, restores vitality to dead spaces, and fills the air with a rich aura of life, gently healing the wounds of all living beings. It autonomously absorbs energy to grow continuously. As the tree grows and its roots expand, it will gradually unlock abilities such as natural rhythm regulation, basic element and mineral generation, and the incubation of new life forms. It evolves infinitely as time passes. Note, it existed before life was born, and it will continue to exist after life fades away. Looking at the attribute description before me, I had only one thought. Could it be that this was prepared specifically for my domain space? I hurriedly took the seed out of my personal space. It was a seed the size of a fingernail, emerald green throughout, and emitting a soft white light. Yet, holding it in my palm, I could feel a warm and majestic life force flowing slowly into my body through my fingertips, invigorating my exhausted spirit. How am I supposed to plant this thing? After thinking for a moment, I walked to the very center of my domain space. I casually dug a shallow hole in the ground, buried the seed, and poured a little mineral water over it. This should work, right? The next second, a miraculous thing happened. On the previously barren ground, a tender green seedling instantly sprouted. It grew at a speed visible to the naked eye, shooting out branches and leaves. In just a few seconds, it had grown into a towering tree 5 meters high. The trunk was thick and upright, the branches and leaves were lush, and the emerald leaves shimmered with faint fluorescence. A rich aura of life spread out like a tide, refreshing and invigorating. I was surprised to find that even the ground around the tree, which had been hard, packed dirt, had become soft and fertile, with patches of tender green grass even starting to emerge. Does this mean that my space will really grow into a complete world in the future? I reached out and gently touched the rough trunk, my heart filled with shock. Just then, in the domain space where there hadn't been a breath of wind, the branches of the world tree began to sway gently. A few emerald leaves drifted down, landing right in my palm. I jerked my hand back, staring wide-eyed at the tree before me. Are you conscious too? The world tree did not respond, but its branches swayed gently again, as if nodding. I suppressed the shock in my heart and, with a thought, took an inconspicuous seed from my personal space. It was the spirit fruit seed that she had previously opened from a silver supply crate. At the time, because there was no suitable planting environment, it had been tossed into a corner to gather dust. Spirit fruit seed, a special crop seed containing a gentle spiritual aura of life. The fruit it bears tastes sweet and crisp. Consuming it permanently increases physique slightly with no side effects. Planting requirements. Requires an environment rich in life aura to grow. Maturity cycle is 72 hours. Now I finally have a place suitable for it to grow. I looked at the seed in my hand and muttered to myself, when I have the chance, I'll strengthen it before planting it. Although I can only use my talent once a day now, and the speed is a bit slow, every harvest now is far beyond what I could have achieved before. After settling my mood, I looked at the lush world tree before me, and the nerves that had been taut because of the final day finally relaxed completely. I didn't linger, walking straight out of the domain space and back into the driver's seat. Linyu was sitting obediently in the passenger seat. Seeing me come out, she immediately leaned over. She secretly glanced at the vehicle information panel and found that the vehicle points had indeed not changed at all. She blinked curiously but didn't ask anything. I sat in the driver's seat, carefully flipping through the various blueprints and items in my personal space, and sighed softly. The night passed without incident. 5:58 a.m. the next day. Lin Shi, Su Wanwan, and Su Kursin had already packed everything up early and were all gathered in the cab. No one spoke. They just quietly watched the snow-white lighthouse outside the window, waiting for 6 o'clock to arrive. Time ticked away, second by second. At the exact moment it hit 6 o'clock, a familiar white light flashed. When everyone opened their eyes again, the eternal lighthouse and the crowded group of vehicles had vanished without a trace. In their place was an endless wasteland. The sky was a clear, deep blue, and the golden sunlight spilled onto the earth without obstruction, warm and bright. This was the first time since entering this world that we had seen such bright sunshine. There was no black fog, no haze, and no suffocating sense of oppression, making everyone feel incredibly refreshed. The system interface popped up 3 eye-catching announcements on time. Ding! Dungeon Wasteland Sprint initiated. Ding! Dungeon rules. 1. Dungeon duration, 6 to 1800 hours today, a total of 12 hours. 2. All survivors will receive 1 point for every 1 kilometer driven. 3. During the dungeon, points can be used for vehicle modification and upgrades. Looking at the system announcement, everyone in the RV was stunned. That's it. Su Kursin was the first to react, saying in disbelief, "This system announcement is as unreliable as ever. It didn't even explain clearly. What can be modified on the vehicle? What can be upgraded? It didn't say anything." Yeah. Lin Shi frowned, her tone worried. "This seems similar to what we encountered before. I wonder if there's any danger." "Big sister, why worry so much?" Lin Yu jumped up excitedly. "We just keep driving. The faster we go, the more points we get. With Xiaoxi here, we're definitely going to make a fortune this time." I looked at the system announcement, didn't think too much, and immediately ordered. "Xiaoxi, full speed ahead." Received, Commander. Switched to maximum speed of 300 kilometers per hour. I will monitor all conditions within radar range at all times and report any anomalies immediately. The RV jolted and shot forward like an arrow released from a bow. The scenery outside the window flew backward, and the golden sunlight cast long shadows on the vehicle. "Sai, why is it this endless wasteland again?" Sue Curson leaned against the window and pouted. Not a shred of originality. They could at least change it to a forest or a lake or something. I'm sick of looking at yellow dirt slopes every day. What I was most interested in right now was the vehicle modification and upgrades mentioned in the announcement. Previously, vehicle upgrades could only be done via vehicle upgrade books, and modifications only via blueprints. If these points could be used directly for vehicle modification and upgrades, it would undoubtedly be huge news. The interior of the RV quieted down. I sat in the driver's seat, looking at the highway stretching straight toward the horizon. Having gone through 7 days of dark, sunless black fog, my mood was incredibly light now that I was looking at this sunny weather, even if it was just a barren land outside. The journey ahead was peaceful. The RV drove steadily at 300 kilometers per hour. There were no abnormal signals on the radar, and we didn't encounter any monsters. In the communication channel, other players were saying the same thing. Is it too quiet? We've been driving for 2 hours and haven't even seen a ghost. Me too. Smooth sailing all the way. Is this really a survival game? It's so quiet it's making me nervous. I feel like the system is brewing something big. Don't jinx it. Isn't it good to earn points safely? By the way, does anyone know how to upgrade or modify vehicles? It wasn't until 9 o'clock sharp. Commander, abnormal energy consumption detected. Xiaoxi's voice suddenly sounded. Current energy consumption rate is twice the normal state. No other effects for now. Hearing this, my brow furrowed instantly. Double the energy consumption? Is it that simple? I immediately opened the regional chat channel and carefully scrolled through the messages. Sure enough, almost everyone had discovered this problem. Have you noticed the fuel consumption is wrong? It's significantly faster than before. What are you afraid of? Didn't the clearance chest yesterday give us 300 units? Even with double consumption, it's enough to drive for a day. Have you encountered anything else? It's so quiet along the way, I'm panicking. Do you really believe this survival game would be this friendly to us? I always feel like things aren't that simple. Trading food and water for fuel, 1:5. Orders are already up on the trading channel. Hurry if you need it. You guys said fuel consumption is doubled now. Will it keep increasing today? Is the 300 units they gave us not enough for today? Damn, now that you mention it, I think it's possible. The system loves these kinds of tricks. I was looking at the content in the chat channel when Lin Yu's voice suddenly rang in my ear. Big Brother Wu Di. Lin Yu excitedly shook my arm, her eyes shining with a strange light. Look at the trading channel. So many people are buying fuel. The price is rising so fast. We still have so much fuel. Should we sell it and make a profit? Since Lin Yu and Lin Shi arrived, I had handed all material trading matters over to them. I knew Lin Yu had been keeping an eye on the trading channel, but I didn't expect her to be so interested in it. She had been responsible for the previous trades, and it seemed she never came out on the losing end. Looking at Lin Yu, I smiled and nodded. All right, it's up to you. Decide for yourself how much to sell and at what price. Leave it to me, Big Brother Wu Di. Lin Yu immediately patted her chest, promising, I guarantee I'll get you the best price. With that, she ran excitedly into the domain space. They stored all their supplies in the domain space. Watching Lin Yu's cheerful back, I smiled helplessly. Boss, isn't she full of energy? Sue Curson suddenly leaned over, winking. Do you feel a heartbeat? I slapped her on the forehead. Can't you be normal for once? Boss, which one of us is the abnormal one? Sue Curson covered her forehead, looking aggrieved. Seeing that I looked ready to strike again, she quickly turned and ran toward the domain space, leaving behind a sentence. I'm going to keep Xiao Yu company. I'm not playing with you anymore. I shook my head and looked at the points on my wristband interface, which were constantly jumping and increasing. From 6 o'clock until now, in 3 hours, we had traveled 900 kilometers and earned 900 points. And this number was still increasing. I just wanted to know what these points could actually be used to modify and upgrade. Not long after, Lin Yu and Sue Curson ran out of the domain space together. Big Brother Wu Di. Lin Yu said with a look of surprise. There's a huge tree in the domain space. Did you plant it? It feels so comfortable staying in there. My whole body feels warm, and I'm not tired at all. Yeah, boss. Sue Curson added. Next time you get something good, can you tell us? We didn't even know there was a tree in the domain space. Lin Shi and Su Wanwan were also attracted by their words and looked at me curiously. I looked at the chattering girls with a headache. All right, go in and take a look together. Yay! Lin Yu cheered, pulled Su Kursin and Su Wanwan, and ran into the domain space. Lin Shi smiled and followed, a hint of curiosity about the new changes in the domain space hidden in her eyes. Time passed second by second, and the RV continued to speed across the wasteland at 300 kilometers per hour. The yellow dirt and sparse dead trees outside the window flew backward, monotonous yet strangely reassuring. The others came out of the domain space one after another, finished lunch, and without lingering, excitedly dove back in. Only I remained in the driver's seat, my gaze fixed on the endless wasteland outside the window. Time quietly reached 13:15. Commander, a building detected 1,000 meters ahead. Approaching to stop, Xiaoxi's voice suddenly sounded, breaking the silence in the RV. I sat up straight, my eyes fixed on the center console screen. On the empty ground to the right of the highway stood a lonely, small building, about 50 square meters in size. The side facing the road had no doors or windows, appearing particularly abrupt. On the open ground next to the building sat a silver machine, taller than a person, similar in appearance to the supply point machines we had encountered before. The RV slowly stopped on the open ground in front of the building. I pushed the door open and walked straight toward the silver machine. I thought this must be the place for vehicle upgrades and modifications mentioned in the system announcement. Walking up to the machine, I reached out and touched the screen. The interface lit up instantly, clearly displaying two eye-catching options: modify and upgrade. There was no extra explanation, as concise as the system's usual style. I clicked on the modify interface first. The design was very simple, listing various vehicle shapes: sports cars, off-road vehicles, trucks, and even heavy-duty trucks. Under each shape, the requirements were clearly marked: 300 points, plus some basic materials. I quickly scanned all the options, and the interest in my eyes faded instantly. My current RV had a huge space, could accommodate everyone, and could store a large amount of supplies. Whether for survival or storage, it was the optimal solution. These modification options seemed diverse, but were actually impractical. Besides changing the appearance, they had no real meaning and would instead sacrifice the vehicle's utility. There shouldn't be any stupid players who would choose to modify, right? I muttered to myself, tapped the screen to close the modify interface, and turned to open the upgrade interface. The upgrade interface was slightly richer in content, clearly marking the points required for each level of vehicle upgrade. Level 3 to Level 4 requires 300 points, no materials needed. Level 4 to Level 5 requires 2,500 points, no materials needed. Level 5 to Level 6 also requires 2,500 points. In addition, there was a vehicle accessory upgrade option at the bottom, marked Any Vehicle Accessory. Spend 200 points to upgrade directly to blue quality. I quickly did the math in my head. 2,500 points meant driving 2,500 kilometers continuously. Even if I maintained a speed of over 200 kilometers per hour the whole time, it would take 12.5 hours of continuous driving, almost the entire 12-hour duration of the dungeon, without any stops. I knew clearly that, apart from myself, the highest level of any survivor's vehicle was only level 5, and many people were still using level 3 or 4 ordinary vehicles. The difficulty of upgrading was self-evident, and now, the system had suddenly opened up such a risk-free upgrade path. Just step on the gas and drive enough distance to upgrade easily, which made me feel inexplicably uncomfortable. The system is so generous this time. What does it mean? I frowned, feeling that there must be some other motive behind the system's actions. But I didn't dwell on it too much, because a more awkward problem caught my eye. This upgrade and modification were of no use to me at all. Modification was impractical and completely unnecessary, and the highest level on the upgrade interface was only level 6. My RV was already level 6 and couldn't be upgraded further here. As for accessory upgrades, I didn't even need to think about it. My lowest level items were already purple quality. I was completely dumbfounded, standing there staring at the screen for a long time before muttering, "What does this mean? Does this dungeon stage have no meaning for me at all?" I exited the upgrade interface unwillingly and checked the machine's main interface carefully again, not missing even the smallest detail in the corners. But the screen only had the words upgrade and modify, with no other options. I repeatedly clicked on the two sub-interfaces, checking every word, and after fussing for a full 10 minutes, I finally gave up completely. I returned to the RV and laid down in the driver's seat, looking quite helpless. I had been looking forward to using this dungeon to further improve the RV's strength, but I hadn't expected this result. Commander, do you need to continue forward? Xiaoxi's voice sounded at the right time. I sighed and waved my hand. Xiaoxi, continue full speed ahead. Received, Commander. Will continue to maintain 300 kilometers per hour speed. Radar will continue to monitor the surrounding environment, and I will report any anomalies immediately. I leaned back in the chair, closed my eyes, and comforted myself in a low voice. It's okay. This just proves that I've developed too fast. So fast that even this survival game didn't anticipate that any player could reach a level 6 vehicle ahead of time. Thinking this way, the sense of disappointment in my heart dissipated quite a bit, and my taut nerves gradually relaxed. I decided not to think about it anymore and just lay in the driver's seat, closing my eyes to rest. The RV continued to speed across the wasteland, and in the blink of an eye, it was 1458. Commander, a building detected 1,000 meters ahead, identical to the one previously discovered. Approaching to stop. Xiaoxi's prompt sounded again. I slowly opened my eyes and looked at the center console screen. What was displayed on the screen was indeed the exact same building as before, with a silver modification machine sitting next to it. I had wanted to just have Xiaoxi drive past it, as there was no need to waste time, but the words stopped on my lips. What if there was a different discovery this time? Let's go take a look. What if it's different? The RV slowly stopped, and I got up and got out of the car again, walking straight toward the silver machine. I skillfully clicked on the interface, and sure enough, there were still only the two options of modify and upgrade, and the content inside was exactly the same as before, with no changes. I shouldn't have had any hope. I rolled my eyes, my tone full of helplessness, and turned to return to the car to continue forward. Just then, a high-pitched, piercing sports car engine sound suddenly came from afar, approaching rapidly, breaking the silence of the wasteland. I paused, continuing to walk toward the RV. But the next second, a sharp screech of brakes rang out. A bright red supercar sped toward me, its body low, modified with a huge rear wing and exaggerated exhaust pipes. It shone dazzlingly in the sunlight, but also exuded an arrogant air. A flash of coldness crossed my eyes. I subconsciously dodged to the side, my feet planting firmly. The sports car slid past me, leaving two long black skid marks on the ground and kicking up a cloud of dust. A sports car pulled up nearby. The doors opened, and two young men in their 20s stepped out. Their hair was dyed in garish colors, and they wore filthy, dust, and grease-stained clothes. Their faces were equally grimy, giving them a disheveled appearance, yet each held an M9 pistol with the muzzles pointed slightly downward. One of the men, sporting yellow hair, offered a smirk and waved his hand. Sorry, brother. Just finished modifying the car and lost control a bit. Almost hit you. The other man, with green hair, impatiently shoved the yellow-haired one. Stop putting on an act. You still trying to play a role? He then raised his pistol at me. It's your lucky day that we didn't run you over, and it's our lucky day too. Be smart and hand over everything in your personal space, and I might consider sparing your life. I ignored their bluster, my gaze fixed on the red sports car. A flicker of confusion crossed my mind. I was genuinely curious. Did this kind of flashy, impractical modification offer any real benefits? Why would anyone waste points and materials to turn a vehicle into something like this? After staring for a long moment, I couldn't make heads or tails of it. I withdrew my gaze and looked at the two robbers. My figure suddenly blurred, moving with such speed that only a phantom image remained. The two men felt a flash before their eyes. Before they could react, I was already standing in front of the green-haired man. His pupils constricted, and he instinctively tried to pull the trigger, but I clamped my hand firmly around his wrist. With a crisp crack and the sound of snapping bone, his wrist gave way. The pistol fell, and I caught it midair. Ah! The green-haired man let out a shrill scream. His face turned paper white, and cold sweat streamed down his cheeks. I kicked him squarely in the chest. He flew back like a discarded sack, slamming into the wasteland soil. After rolling a few times, he went still, his breath completely gone. The yellow-haired man stared in stunned silence, his own pistol nearly slipping from his trembling hands. His legs shook uncontrollably, and his face was etched with terror. He never imagined that I would be this formidable. I turned to face him, my voice devoid of warmth. "I'll give you a choice. Answer my questions properly, and I might consider sparing your life." The yellow-haired man shuddered. Survival instinct kicked in, and he immediately raised his pistol, attempting a final, desperate struggle. Bang! I pulled the trigger without hesitation. The bullet struck his wrist with precision, sending his pistol clattering to the ground. He let out a cry of pain, clutching his injured wrist, his face deathly pale. "Don't kill me. Don't kill me. Big brother. I'll tell you everything. I'll tell you everything." He dropped to his knees with a thud, kowtowing and begging. His forehead was soon bloodied, and he was shaking so violently he didn't even dare to look up at me. "Is there anything special about the car you modified?" I asked coldly, my tone flat. "And nothing, big brother," he stammered, his voice trembling. "We just thought the look was cool, so we spent points and materials to modify it. There really isn't anything special about it." Seeing me frown, he was terrified out of his wits and quickly added, "Wait. Right. The speed increased after the modification. The top speed can reach 300. I was just too nervous and forgot to mention it. I really didn't mean to lie to you, big brother. Are there any requirements for the modification?" I continued, unmoved by his pleas. Yes, he nodded frantically, speaking at high speed. "Besides 300 points, you also need to provide a portion of the corresponding basic materials. Big brother, I've told you everything. Please don't kill me." I glanced at him and said nothing. Bang! A single gunshot rang out, and the yellow-haired man collapsed, his life extinguished. "If you hadn't made a move, I wouldn't have either," I said softly, my tone calm but filled with undeniable resolve. "But since you struck first, don't blame me. If you want to kill, you must be prepared to be killed." I circled the sports car, opened the door, and inspected it thoroughly. It turned out that, aside from the 300 kilometers per hour top speed, there was truly nothing special about it. Furthermore, the interior was tiny, seating only 2, with almost zero storage space. The chassis was paper-thin, and its defensive capabilities were pitifully weak. Confirming there was nothing of value, I activated the vehicle dismantling function. In the end, only a vehicle core remained on the ground. I picked up the vehicle core and walked back to the RV, pondering to myself, what is the actual use of this vehicle core? Aside from the few I used to upgrade my vehicle to level 3 and 4, this thing had been useless. I wondered if there was any point in keeping it. As soon as I boarded, Xiaoshi's voice sounded. "Commander, I currently lack autonomous attack authorization. I am very sorry I could not assist you. Shall we continue forward?" "Continue." As I spoke, I recalled the system prompt from last night when I enhanced Unit 01. A question popped into my mind. Is Xiaoshi also a life form like that? I sat in the driver's seat, watching the wasteland recede outside the window, lost in thought. As the RV continued, Linyu suddenly ran out of the domain space, her face full of excitement. As soon as she emerged, she shouted, "Big Brother Wu Di! Big Brother Wu Di! The price of basic materials on the trading channel is skyrocketing again. Should we sell some of them and trade for something else?" Seeing the excitement in her eyes, I smiled helplessly, my tone softening. "You decide. We don't have a huge demand for basic materials right now." "Okay, Big Brother Wu Di. I promise to get a good price for you. I'm going to get to work," Linyu said happily before rushing back into the domain space. I watched her go, shaking my head with a faint smile tugging at the corners of my mouth. Along the rest of the journey, we encountered identical modification points every so often. Each time, I stubbornly got out to check, hoping to find different options. But I was disappointed every time. The machine's interface always showed only modify and upgrade, and the content never changed. The RV sped across the wasteland, and the number on my points panel climbed, eventually surpassing 3,000. I leaned back in the driver's seat, my eyes drifting to the panel. I felt a sense of frustration. Having accumulated so many points but finding nowhere to spend them was incredibly stifling. The time reached 16:38. Xiaoxi's notification sounded. Commander, a modification point detected 1,000 meters ahead. Preparing to stop. The RV slowed to a halt. I stepped out and walked straight to the silver modification machine. I took a deep breath, reached out, and opened the main interface. This time, my eyes lit up. The Modify interface now featured an option I had never seen before: Add Vehicle Weapon Mount 1. It clearly stated the required points, 3,000. Finally, a place to use these points. A surge of excitement washed away my previous frustration. I had just over 3,100 points. While 3,000 was nearly my entire balance, at least these points finally had a purpose, ensuring this dungeon wasn't entirely meaningless for me. Could it be that this hidden option only unlocked because I reached 3,000 points? I wondered, finding the possibility highly likely. Without hesitation, I tapped the modification option. Ding, confirm spending 3,000 points to add a weapon mount to the vehicle. Ding, drive the vehicle into the modification bay. No players allowed inside. Estimated modification time, 30 minutes. I paused. I had expected it to be instantaneous, like the previous vehicle item installations. I hadn't realized it would be this complicated. But I didn't hesitate. On one hand, it was the only place to spend points. On the other, while a weapon mount might not be a necessity for other players, it was of immense significance to me. My RV was already equipped with a 30mm chain autocannon and the Heaven's Punishment electromagnetic railgun, occupying 2 mounts. Although upgrading to a level 6 vehicle had left one slot open, my furnace of all things talent was simply too powerful to ignore. If I ever used my talent to enhance a new vehicle weapon, having nowhere to mount it would be a nightmare. Especially when facing the Mist Rock Titan, it was precisely because we had enough weapon mounts that we managed to survive. With that in mind, I decisively opened the team channel and sent a message. The RV is undergoing modifications. You all need to come out. Within a minute, Lin Shi, Lin Yu, Su Kursen, and Su Wanwan emerged from the domain space. Lin Yu was still busy monitoring the trading channel. Su Kursen stretched. Lin Shi and Su Wanwan stood by, curiously examining the modification point. Boss, are we modifying the RV? Su Kursen asked, unusually serious as she leaned toward me. What are you planning to change? I think our RV is already perfect, big, and safe. I didn't reply immediately, instead calling out toward the RV. Xiaoxi, drive in. Enter the modification bay. Even though the RV didn't have external speakers, Xiaoxi could hear me clearly from outside. The RV slowly started and rolled into the bay. The heavy steel doors descended, sealing the entire area. I looked at the closed steel doors, feeling a bit curious but not dwelling on it. I turned to the others. The modification will take 30 minutes. Let's wait here. Big Brother Wu Di. I saw on the communication channel that it's easy to run into other players at these modification points. Lin Shi said, her brow furrowed with worry. Many players attack others while their vehicles are being modified and immobilized. What's there to be afraid of? Su Kursen raised her cloud-piercing bow, her tone dismissive. If anyone dares to rob us, I'll shoot them through the head. Besides, the boss is here. Don't worry, Shishi. Su Wanwan said nothing, merely gripping her pistol tightly, her eyes scanning the surrounding wasteland vigilantly. I looked at them, my voice steady. It will be fine. You don't need to be so tense. Exactly, Su Kursen agreed, grinning at me. Even that Mist Rock Titan was taken care of by the boss. Honestly, if the boss suddenly turned into a giant of light, I wouldn't even be surprised. Hearing Su Kursen's absurd teasing, Lin Shi and Su Wanwan couldn't help but giggle, and the tense atmosphere eased significantly. I ignored her nonsense, merely shooting her a sharp glare to tell her to be quiet. Lin Shi smiled and changed the subject. By the way, Big Brother Wu Di, that tree is truly magical. Staying inside now not only makes us feel much better, but even the vegetables we planted seem different. Yes, Su Wanwan nodded softly. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad one, but the maturation period for the vegetables seems to have lengthened. They look different, too. The leaves are greener and more lustrous. Right, boss, one more thing. Su Kursen chimed in, curious. Did you secretly expand the domain space again? I noticed today that it feels bigger, much wider than before. Hearing them discuss the changes in the domain space, the corners of my mouth lifted. I had guessed the world tree would bring changes, but I hadn't expected the effects to manifest so quickly. We'll talk about that tonight, I said. For now, let's focus on waiting for the RV's modification to finish. They nodded, standing by the modification point, monitoring the communication channel while waiting quietly. Time ticked by. Less than 20 minutes later, the sound of a roaring engine broke the silence of the wasteland, growing clearer as it approached. Everyone looked toward the sound, their eyes filled with vigilance. Even Lin Yu, who had been busy trading, looked up. The window rolled down, revealing two middle-aged men with bloated faces. One was bald, his scalp glistening with oil. The other had a long scar running from his eye to his jaw. Their eyes were vicious, sweeping over us before lingering on Lin Shi, Su Kursin, and Su Wanwan with lecherous, greedy grins. Yo, didn't expect to run into such pretty little sisters here, the bald man shouted, his tone arrogant and lewd. How about two of you come over and play with us, brothers? If we're in a good mood, we might let you live and even share some bread and water. How about it? That's right, the scarred man added, his tone bullying and threatening. Let me tell you, our truck has been upgraded to be fully bulletproof. Those pieces of junk you're holding won't even scratch it. Be smart and do as you're told, or don't blame us for being rude. Lin Yu and the others turned pale with anger. Su Kursin was shaking with rage. She drew her cloud-piercing bow, notched an arrow, and aimed it at the two men in the pickup, gritting her teeth. I'm going to shoot these bastards. How dare they talk like that? They're asking for death. I didn't say a word. With a thought, the 3-meter-tall Titan's fury mecha instantly encased my body. The smiles on the two men in the pickup froze. Their eyes widened like copper bells, and their mouths hung open, disbelief etched across their faces. They stopped breathing for several seconds. Is that a mecha? The bald man shrieked, his voice cracking. The arrogance and lewdness vanished, replaced by bone-deep terror. How can there be a mecha? This is impossible. I didn't give them time to react. I charged directly at the pickup. Bang! A deafening crash. My iron fist, imbued with immense force, slammed into the hood of the pickup. The bulletproof hood instantly buckled and deformed, the metal twisting with a screeching sound. I grabbed the roof of the pickup, applied a bit of force, and ripped it off. With a loud clatter, the roof was torn away like scrap paper and tossed 10 meters away into the wasteland, hitting the ground with a thud and kicking up a cloud of dust. Boom! Another dull, heavy thud. I raised my foot and stomped on the pickup's cabin. The entire vehicle was instantly crushed into a pile of twisted scrap metal, parts scattering everywhere. The two robbers inside were silenced forever by that single blow. Lin Yu, Su Kursin, Lin Shi, and Su Wanwan stood frozen, staring in utter shock, unable to utter a word for a long time. After a while, Lin Yu was the first to react. She jumped up excitedly, shouting, "Wow! Big Brother Wu Di, you're amazing!" She ran to my side, circling the mecha, and asked curiously, looking up, "Big Brother Wu Di, can the 12-meter-tall mecha inside the domain space be worn like this too?" That was too easy on them. Su Kursin followed, lowering her bow, still looking annoyed. "Boss, next time, let me handle this kind of trash. They made me so mad." I willed the Titan's fury mecha to dissipate, revealing my original form. We'll talk about that later. The modification is almost done. They nodded, their gazes turning toward the closed steel doors. Time passed, and in the blink of an eye, the 30-minute modification period ended. Click, the steel doors slowly rose. We looked closely, but the RV's exterior remained unchanged, exactly as it was before. The RV rolled smoothly out of the bay and parked on the open ground. We boarded one by one. As soon as the door closed, Xiao Shi's voice sounded. "Commander, vehicle modification complete. Total weapon mounts, 4, used, 2, available, 2. I nodded. Xiao Shi, continue forward. Acknowledged, Commander. Switched to top speed of 300 kilometers per hour. I will continue to monitor the surroundings. The rest of the journey was peaceful. We encountered no other players, and nothing unusual occurred. We had a simple dinner and sat quietly in the cabin, waiting for 1800 hours. Time ticked away, second by second. When Su Wanwan's talent treasure chest refreshed, a system prompt appeared for everyone. Ding! The Wasteland Sprint dungeon has officially ended. All unused points have been cleared. From now until 6 a.m. tomorrow is the safe period. The cabin fell silent. Xiaoxi, stop the vehicle, I said. Acknowledged, Commander. Stopping smoothly. I looked at the others. We'll rest here tonight and set off again at 6 tomorrow morning. Su Wanwan nodded and opened her talent treasure chest. She displayed the blueprint's attributes for everyone to see. Vehicle Thermostatic Purification Air Conditioner Blueprint. Purple quality vehicle item. Provides precise thermostatic control for the entire cabin, with a temperature range of -10 degrees Celsius to 50 degrees Celsius. Includes a triple air purification system that filters most harmful gases and dust while releasing negative oxygen ions. Energy consumption plus 5%. Installation requirement, level 2 or higher vehicle. Crafting requirements, metal block 10, electronic component 10, plastic 5, quantum primordial matter 5. Finally, not weapons or ammo. Su Kursin sighed with relief, looking touched. I was starting to think Wanwan's chest could only drop bullets. Sister Wanwan is so lucky. Another purple quality blueprint. Lin Yu said with a smile. Su Wanwan just smiled and handed the blueprint to me. All right, Wanwan. Come on, I'll show you something cool. Su Kursin said, pulling Su Wanwan toward the bedroom. She shook her head with a smile and followed them inside. The cabin fell quiet, leaving only me sitting in the driver's seat. Not long after, Lin Yu came bouncing over and plopped herself into the passenger seat. With an irrepressible, excited smile on her face, she began reporting the day's trading results to me. Big Brother Wu Di, we made a killing today, Lin Yu said, counting on her fingers with a serious expression. The four of us had a total of 12 trade opportunities. I used 10 of them entirely to exchange for quantum primordial matter. I spent 1,000 units of fuel and got 50 units of quantum primordial matter in return. For the remaining 2 trades, I used 650 units of fuel to get 2 silver grade talent fragments. But it's such a pity, Big Brother Wu Di. At this point, Lin Yu sighed, a look of frustration appearing on her face. If it weren't for the limit on trade counts, I could have exchanged for so much more today. That's enough. I looked at her frustrated expression, my tone softening in a rare moment of gentleness. You've already done very well. Get some rest early. After saying this, I turned my head to look at the pitch-black wasteland outside the window. I wasn't just comforting Lin Yu. It was true that we had been lacking rare materials like quantum primordial matter. But now, what I lacked was no longer materials, but the furnace of all things talent, which could only be used once a day. That was the real bottleneck limiting our growth. I'll be right here, Big Brother Wu Di. Just call me if you need anything, Lin Yu said, then settled quietly into the passenger seat, seemingly back to studying the communication channel. Time passed steadily. The cabin was silent. Exactly midnight. My talent refreshed right on time. I turned my head, just about to ask Lin Yu to apply talent amplification, but saw her curled up in the passenger seat, fast asleep. Her long eyelashes cast faint shadows under her eyelids, and a shallow smile played on her lips. Watching her cute appearance, a smile tugged at the corner of my own mouth. I hesitated for a moment, but ultimately decided against waking her. We'll talk about it tomorrow. With that thought, I lay down on the driver's seat and closed my eyes. What will tomorrow bring? The night passed without incident. The next morning, 5:56 a.m. Everyone in the cabin had woken up early, packed everything away, and gathered in the driver's cab, waiting quietly for 6 o'clock to arrive. Lin Yu leaned over to me and whispered, Big Brother Wu Di, I accidentally fell asleep last night. Why didn't you wake me up? You looked like you were sleeping soundly, so I didn't, I replied, shaking my head. Oh, Lin Yu nodded, though a hint of curiosity remained on her face. She stole glances at me, still wondering why I hadn't needed her talent amplification yesterday. Xiao Yu, what are you whispering to the boss about? Su Kursin suddenly popped her head out from behind, deliberately lowering her voice to give Lin Yu a big fright. Sister Su, Lin Yu patted her chest, glaring at Su Kursin with mock annoyance, her cheeks slightly flushed. You scared me to death. Just then, the time hit exactly 6 o'clock. A familiar white light instantly enveloped everyone. When the light faded and everyone opened their eyes, the eternal wasteland had vanished. In its place was an endless expanse of land piled high with discarded metal. At the same time, the system notification popped up for everyone right on cue. Ding! The new region has officially opened. A total of 100,000 players are participating in this session. 1. Effective immediately, all highway driving restrictions are lifted. Players are free to explore any location within the region. 2. All players must survive in this region for 7 days. After 7 days, all surviving players will enter the next stage. The cabin fell silent instantly. Everyone instinctively looked out the window. The sky was a hazy gray, and the entire world was shrouded in a dim, gloomy tone. The ground was littered with the wreckage of abandoned cars, twisted steel bars, and the frames of collapsed factory buildings. Highway restrictions lifted? Sue Curson was the first to react, looking surprised. Does that mean we don't have to stick to the highway anymore? We can go wherever we want. Boss, what do you think? The announcement only says to survive for 7 days. She frowned, her tone worried. I have a feeling this stage isn't quite normal. There are so many people, Su Wanwan said softly. Big Brother Wu Di, are we going to run into a lot of other players now? I didn't speak, just scanned the surroundings. Our RV was currently parked on an abandoned highway, with various scrapped vehicles scattered on both sides, stretching to the horizon. Don't overthink it, I said, pulling my gaze back. Let's move forward first and get a sense of this area. Xiaoxi, plan the optimal route based on the tracks on the road. Received, Commander. Xiaoxi's voice rang out immediately. Scanning. Detected a large number of vehicle tracks and signs of human activity to the east. Suggest moving in the eastern direction. What the hell? Seriously? Sue Curson's eyes widened. There are humans here? They aren't aliens, are they? Lin Shi and the others also looked out the window in surprise. This was the first time since entering this survival world that they had encountered humans other than players. Xiaoxi, follow your plan. I nodded, then turned to Lin Shi and the others. We'll take it one step at a time. Same as always, keep an eye on the communication channel and let me know immediately if there's anything unusual. Big Brother Wu Di. Look, the communication channel has changed. Lin Yu suddenly shouted, her tone filled with shock. I immediately opened the communication channel. A second later, my pupils constricted slightly. Yesterday, there were nearly 1 billion players, but now, the top of the channel clearly displayed. Current region online count, 99 for 57/100,000. Holy crap, boss. Does that mean over 500 people died just after entering? Sue Curson gasped. It's only been a few seconds. Did they split us all up again? Lin, she said softly. We can't see players from other regions anymore. I didn't speak, just quickly scrolled through the messages in the communication channel. The highway really isn't restricted. I just drove straight over a ruin, and nothing happened. Finally, no need to worry about driving off the highway. We're free, brothers. Let's enjoy this wonderful stage. Has anyone run into other people? Aren't there 100,000 people in this place? Why haven't I seen a single soul? Anyone looking to team up? It's too dangerous alone. Need someone who can fight. Do you think the more people in a team, the greater the danger, just like before? Holy crap, you guys won't believe what I saw. There are indigenous people here. Just then, Xiaoxi's voice suddenly rang out, sounding vigilant. Commander, abnormal biological signals detected 1,000 meters ahead. Signal characteristics indicate a purely mechanical structure, non-human. Information has been synced to the center console screen. Everyone's eyes turned to the center console screen, where the left side clearly displayed the monster's details. Mechanical hound, fully automatic patrol and kill units left over from the old military era. Normal cruising speed is 40 kilometers per hour, with short burst sprints up to 60 kilometers per hour. Extremely high endurance, capable of tracking targets for over 50 kilometers. Attack method, high-speed pouncing and biting. Skills, none. Characteristics, extremely sensitive to moving objects. Weakness, the red energy core on the chest. One hit will destroy it. On the right side of the screen was a clear, real-time feed. 3 four-legged mechanical hounds, about 1.2 meters tall at the shoulder and nearly 2 meters long, were crouching on a pile of scrap metal not far away. Their shells were dark gray with sharp, clean lines and no unnecessary decorations. Their heads were simple mechanical beast structures, and their eyes were two dark red energy points, particularly striking in the dim environment. As their mouths opened and closed, rows of sharp metal teeth were visible, and their entire bodies exuded a cold, bone-chilling sense of slaughter. "Commander, shall I activate the 30mm chain cannon to eliminate the targets?" Xiaoxi asked. "Eliminate them," I said without hesitation. Received. 30mm chain cannon activated. Targets locked. The dull sound of the autocannon rang out. Tongues of fire erupted from the muzzle on top of the RV, and 3 consecutive armor-piercing shells whistled out. Bang, bang, bang. 3 explosions rang out almost simultaneously. The shells hit the energy cores on the chests of the 3 mechanical hounds with precision. The hounds were instantly blown into a pile of scattered parts and collapsed to the ground, their dark red energy points extinguished forever. "Commander, all targets eliminated." "Get closer," I said. The RV slowly drove up to the carcasses of the mechanical hounds. We all pushed open the doors and stepped out one by one. Unlike all the monsters we had encountered before, these mechanical hounds did not disappear after being killed. Their bodies remained intact on the ground. The area was littered with twisted gears, broken wires, and shattered metal shells, still emitting wisps of black smoke, and a pungent odor filled the air. Su Kursen kicked a gear on the ground and frowned. "Strange, why didn't the monsters disappear this time?" Su Wanwan tried to activate the system's decomposition function, then shook her head. "It doesn't work. The system says it cannot decompose these mechanical remains." "Big Brother Wu Di, do these mechanical dogs have batteries inside? Do they need to eat?" Lin Yu asked curiously, tilting her head as she crouched down to poke at a piece of metal debris that was still warm. I crouched down and picked up a piece of broken metal to examine it closely. The material was exceptionally hard, far tougher than ordinary steel. Just as I was about to put it down, I suddenly looked toward the direction of the domain space, lost in thought. I remembered that Unit 01 could dismantle and utilize all metal materials. Since the system couldn't decompose these, I would collect them first and see if Unit 01 could use them once we had energy. With that in mind, I stood up and said, "Help me move all of these into the domain space. They might be useful later." Hearing my words, Lin Shi and Su Wanwan started silently collecting the remains without a word. Su Kursen and Lin Yu exchanged a glance, then quickly put down what they were holding and joined in the transport. After clearing away all the mechanical remains, we returned to the cabin. "Xiaoxi, continue forward." The RV drove steadily forward for about another 20 minutes. "Commander, human life signals detected 1,000 meters to the front left, accompanied by the biological signals of 3 mechanical hounds." Xiaoxi's voice suddenly rang out. "Human signals?" I paused. "Magnify the image." A clear image immediately appeared on the center console screen. Behind an overturned, abandoned truck, a small figure was hiding. It was a young girl wearing tattered, coarse cloth clothes. Her hair was a tangled mess, and her face was covered in dust and grease. She was huddled in the shadow of the truck, shivering. 3 mechanical hounds were circling the truck, emitting low, gear-grinding hisses, occasionally clawing at the truck's sheet metal and making harsh, scraping sounds. This doesn't look like a player." Su Kursen's eyes widened as she shouted. "Boss, did you see that? Is this one of the indigenous people mentioned in the communication channel?" She looked so young, only about 13 or 14, Lin Shi said, a look of pity on her face. "Very likely." I nodded, my expression turning serious. "Let's save her first. Xiaoxi, don't use the autocannon. The distance is too close, and it's easy to cause collateral damage." "Understood. I'm going." Su Kursen immediately raised her cloud-piercing bow, eager to try. "It's a good chance to stretch my muscles. I've been sitting in this car so long I'm about to get moldy." "I'll go too," Su Wanwan said, taking out her modified QBZ-95 assault rifle. Lin Yu and Lin Shi stood up as well, their intentions clear. "Be careful," I said calmly, watching the figure on the screen getting closer. I actually wanted to see if, after all this time, Lin Shi and the others could handle such an emergency on their own. The RV slowly approached and stopped about 50 meters from the truck. The four of them got out and crept over silently. However, when they were still 20 meters away, the three mechanical hounds immediately sensed movement. They whipped their heads around, their dark red electronic eyes locking onto the four of them. With a sharp hiss, they lunged forward on all fours. Fire! Su Kursen shouted, drawing her bow and knocking an arrow at the same time. Bang! Bang! Su Wanwan fired first, the bullets whistling out. The first shot hit the energy core on the chest of the lead mechanical hound with precision, and it instantly froze and collapsed. But the second shot missed, grazing the shell of the second hound and leaving only a shallow scratch. Lin Yu and Lin Shi pulled their triggers as well. But their accuracy was limited. The bullets either hit the ground or struck the hound's tough shells, causing no real damage. The second mechanical hound pounced on Lin Yu, opening its mouth full of metal teeth and biting toward her arm. Watch out! Su Kursen was quick-witted. She grabbed Lin Yu's arm and pulled her behind her. At the same time, she fired her arrow, but it missed the energy core and only pinned itself into the hound's front leg. With a snap, the arrow broke. But the hound stumbled from the impact and missed its pounce. The third mechanical hound took the opportunity to pounce on Lin Shi. Lin Shi reacted quickly, immediately dodging to the side behind a piece of scrap metal. The hound slammed into the scrap metal with a dull, loud thud. Su Wanwan took the chance to adjust her aim and fired again. With a bang, the bullet hit the second hound's energy core precisely. It wobbled and collapsed to the ground. Now only the last mechanical hound remained. It shook its head, crawled out from the scrap pile, let out an angry hiss, and suddenly turned to pounce on Su Kursen. Su Kursen remained calm, dodging the pounce. At the same time, she quickly drew her bow and fired, her movements fluid. The moment the hound landed, a sharp arrow pierced the air and struck its energy core with precision. The mechanical hound froze in place, then crashed to the ground. The whole process took only a dozen seconds. Although it was a bit messy and Lin Yu had a small scratch on her arm, they had managed to deal with the three mechanical hounds without any real danger. Watching the scene on the center console screen, I breathed a slight sigh of relief. They had indeed grown a lot. While their shooting accuracy still needed improvement, at least they knew how to cover for each other and could react correctly the moment danger arrived. They were no longer the people who needed me to protect them at every turn. Hearing the commotion, the little girl behind the truck shrank even further, hugging her knees and trembling all over, burying her face deep in her knees, not daring to show even a sliver of herself. Lin Shi walked over slowly and softened her voice. Don't be afraid, we aren't bad people. We've already killed the monsters. The little girl hesitated for a long time, her shoulders trembling slightly, before slowly raising her head. Her eyes scanned the four people in front of her with vigilance, filled with pure fear and unease. Lin Yu gave her a bright smile, reached out, and said, Come on, come with us. It's not safe here. We'll take you to a place without monsters. The little girl looked at Lin Yu's smile, then at Su Kursen and Su Wanwan nearby. After hesitating for a long time, she finally placed her hand timidly into Lin Yu's palm. Lin Yu held her hand and brought her back to the RV. She must haven't bathed in a long time. Come on, I'll take you to wash up and change into some clean clothes, Lin Yu said, her heart aching as she looked at the girl's dust-covered, greasy body and matted hair. The little girl looked timidly at me, then at Lin Yu, and didn't speak, just nodded obediently. Lin Yu and Lin Shi took her to the bathroom. Half an hour later, the two of them walked out, holding the clean little girl. Everyone's eyes lit up. The washed-up girl revealed fair skin, and her features were as delicate as a doll's. Her long eyelashes were wet. She was wearing one of Lin Yu's white t-shirts, which looked a bit oversized, making her frame appear even smaller. She looked to be about 13 or 14. She was still very timid, keeping her head down and clutching the hem of her shirt tightly, not daring to look at anyone. What's your name? I asked, keeping my tone as gentle as possible. The little girl looked up, stole a quick glance at me, then lowered her head again and whispered, My name is Xiaoya. To everyone's surprise, her Mandarin was very standard, her pronunciation clear, and there was no barrier in communicating with us. Xiaoya, You don't have to be afraid, I said. We won't hurt you. Can you tell us what place this is? Xiaoya bit her lip, her long eyelashes trembling gently. She hesitated for a long time, her lips moving, but she ultimately didn't speak, just buried her head lower. Just then, Su Kursen gave Linyu a look, then put on what she considered her most friendly smile, and said, Little sister Xiaoya, don't be afraid. Come, sister will show you something good. There's lots of delicious food inside, like chocolate, strawberry cookies, and hot milk. Her tone at that moment was exactly like a creepy aunt trying to lure a child with candy. After saying this, she reached out to take Xiaoya's other hand and led her toward the entrance of the domain space. Xiaoya didn't resist at all, letting Su Kursen lead her as she followed with stumbling steps. She watched the two of them enter the domain space and turned to me. Big brother Wu Di, I'll go in and keep an eye on them. With that, she followed them into the domain space. The cabin suddenly became quiet, leaving only me, Linyu, and Su Wanwan. Just then, Xiaoxi's voice rang out. Commander, should I continue forward? I snapped out of my thoughts and said, Xiaoxi, continue to plan the route autonomously. Keep a low speed and report any abnormalities immediately. Received, Commander. I will continue to scan the surrounding environment. The RV started moving slowly. Big brother Wu Di, if there are indigenous people here, is it possible that we'll have conflicts with them later? Su Wanwan asked softly, her tone filled with worry. We'll have to take it one step at a time, I said, leaning back in my seat. I just wish Xiaoya could tell us some information. In truth, I knew that a large portion of the players would view the indigenous people of this world as system NPCs, and conflict was only a matter of time. The problem was that we didn't know what the indigenous people of this world were really like, or what their overall strength was. Big brother Wu Di, Xiaoya looks so pitiful, Linyu whispered. Rest assured, I said, looking at Linyu with a softened gaze. We are not butchers. As long as they harbor no malice toward us, we will never take the initiative to harm anyone. I understood Linyu. Even after everything she had been through, she still held onto a core of pure kindness. Hearing me say this, Linyu beamed instantly. Then I'll go in and see Xiaoya, and bring her something delicious. Wait, Linyu, I called out to stop her. Apply talent amplification to me first. Linyu was startled for a moment, but she quickly realized what I meant and hurriedly used talent amplification on me. After the buff was applied, she hesitated for a brief second before finally entering the domain space. The cabin fell into complete silence. I returned to the driver's seat and looked out at the apocalyptic scene beyond the windows. Taking a deep breath, I opened my personal space and fixed my gaze on the item she had pulled from the gold-tier chest earlier. M134 minigun, purple quality vehicle item. 6-barreled rotary machine gun, 7.62 by 51 mm caliber, theoretical rate of fire 6,000 rounds/minute, effective range 1,000 meters, 5,000 rounds of ammunition. Instant firepower capable of shredding any unarmored target. Installation requirement, level 4 or higher vehicle. I knew clearly that at this stage, facing a large number of players and indigenous people was inevitable. I only had 3 rounds left for the Heaven's Punishment electromagnetic railgun, so I absolutely could not use it unless it was a last resort. While the 30 mm chain autocannon was powerful, its sustained fire and coverage were somewhat lacking when facing swarms of targets. More importantly, the 30 mm chain autocannon only had an ammunition reserve of 120 rounds. Although I had previously obtained the blueprint for the 30 mm tungsten core armor-piercing round, the resource cost for such ammunition was too high. A single battle could potentially deplete more than half of our basic resources. I needed a weapon with greater power, longer range, and ideally, the ability to automatically replenish ammunition, just like the 30 mm chain autocannon. With that thought, I didn't hesitate. With a flick of my mind, I activated the furnace of all things talent. Ding! Do you wish to select the M134 minigun as the primary sacrifice, with no secondary sacrifice? Ding! Talent activation successful. Item promoted to Tier 3. Obtained, LD 1130 close-in weapon system, red quality. Seeing the promoted to Tier 3 notification, a surge of joy filled me. What I hoped for most was that this new weapon would come with the ability to automatically replenish ammunition. I immediately opened the item's attribute panel to examine it closely. LD 1130 Close-in Weapon System, Red Quality. Vehicle Item. Core firepower unit consists of an 11-barreled 30mm rotary rapid-fire cannon. Theoretical rate of fire 11,000 rounds/minute. Maximum burst rate up to 12,000 rounds/minute. Effective interception range 3,500 meters. Ground fire suppression range 5,000 meters. Can track and lock onto 64 incoming targets simultaneously, with millisecond-level response to intercept objects moving up to Mach 4. Provides 360 degrees omnidirectional coverage with no blind spots. Real-world interception success rate exceeds 99.9%. Comes with 3,000 rounds of armor-piercing ammunition, non-detachable, automatically replenishes to full capacity daily at midnight. Must be used with a vehicle-mounted radar to achieve fully automated identification, locking, and interception. Installation requirement: Level 4 or higher vehicle. Note: the moment it operates at full power, no threat exists within your line of sight. Looking at the stats on the panel, I couldn't hide my surprise. It was exactly as I had hoped. The weapon came with daily automatic ammunition replenishment. Furthermore, it used 30mm caliber ammunition, and with a 3,000-round reserve, its firepower density, interception capability, and sustained combat endurance were more than an order of magnitude stronger than the previous 30mm chain autocannon. As for the 30mm tungsten core armor-piercing round blueprint I already possessed, I had no intention of crafting it. At this rate of fire, the LD 1130 close-in weapon system would burn through all my materials in less than a minute.